Okay, welcome everybody to Analysis Stream Thursday. So, yeah, we're here. We've got some games for you to go over together. If you're a subscriber, WJ Loof is back. Nice. 2 streams in a row. That might be a record. You have a Saji-esque joke? Why do anarchists drink herbal tea? Why is that my style joke? Because property is theft. Oh, that's not a Saji-esque joke. When did I start telling stupid jokes? Alright. We've got Astrobate. My game's fully optional. The Nefinov game, Thomas Reinson, I feel like I'm missing something. So we got 3 games to start with. My game's always optional. I don't like showing my own games. Unless it's like a last resort. Or anyone's like specifically, interested. So, what else is up? Astrobate, welcome. Did I see WJ Loof? There he is. 2 days in a work. 2 days in a work. 2 days in a row. 2 days in a work. 2 days in a row. Wait, it wasn't 2 days in a row. Yesterday there was a stream, so it's Tuesday. You're out of commission. Missed the last 17 days, 19 days of work. Nice. Not 2 days in a row, but 2 streams in a row. I'm a little dyslexic. Alright, let's flip the board here. So, we've had, we have tradition to do Astrobate's games first, because that's the wrong game. They're usually short and to the point, and cripplingly bad in some cases. A little light. Damn, it's the wrong color again. Okay. Yeah, Evil William versus Astrobate is from our Tuesday tournament. So what's going on around here? E4, C5, D4, CT, C4, C3. Guys, if you are a subscriber, you just had a flash that I had 5 in a row. Maybe you did come to 5 streams in a row. Maybe that's true. You've been out of work for 19 days. What else is going on? Buy the dip. Am I blurry again? Don't buy U.S. Treasury bonds. What other advice? Let's see. I think our camera is blurry already. We just started. Maybe that's just my vision is blurry, but I think the camera's actually blurry. I don't know why it does that. Software related. Hercules. You had the wipe. Another dad joke. Perverted Epstein dad jokes. Sitting outside in the snow. We have a lot of snow here in Hungary for the first time ever, really. I mean, way more snow than usual. Okay, so Astrobate is black. Our first game is E4, C5. White plays D4, and now you have to take. There is no other good move here. I guess if you had to play a different move, maybe D5 would be the best. That position, I have no idea how that could even arise. Okay, so C takes D4, and now Evil William playing the Mora Gambit, Smith Gambit. Yeah, so now you can bail out with knight f6 if you want to. Sugar Bear. My vision is blurry. That's Giganto Bear. Sugar Bear was this character, the serial killer. No, Sugar Bear. There was this cereal called Sugar Snaps. So I think there was a Sugar Bear that was like the Astrobate would remember. I think the Sugar Bear was the character that advertised a Sugar Pop cereal. If I'm not mistaken, Remember that Astrobate? Sugar Bear. So we got close to 20 inches. Close to 20 inches. That's a lot. Yeah, Mr. Coffee's also in Harrisburg. He said they got a lot. Not so much with my friends in New Jersey. Here we don't get much snow. It doesn't accumulate. But we had repeated snow, and it stayed frozen for a long time. So welcome, Gigantobear. Eton. I'd like to send you a game. You can send me a game. If you're a subscriber, you can send me a game to analyze. D takes C. There are people who transpose to the Smith-Morra. And I'm only going to say one thing about this. You know, in general, I think it's stupid to not play the best move objectively, accepting the pawn is the best. But there's one reason you might consider declining the Smith-Morra. And that reason is a stylistic one. I think that people that play the Morra Gambit in general, they like this sort of playing for the initiative, tactics, very sharp positions. And I'm not sure that the C3 Sicilian and the Morra Gambit are really that compatible, but the Knight F6 lines are a little bit sharp, so I don't know. It's viable, but I still think you should take the pawn. On balance, you should take the pawn. But you have to know what you're doing. So Astrobate takes the pawn. White takes back. And then plays g6. So g6 is a extreme chess move. This particular version of g6 right away, there's very few games here, but I don't think there's no way White can refute this move. You're going to transpose. Oh shit, there was Huggy Bear. No, Astrobate, that's Huggy Bear. Yeah, don't confuse Sugar Bear with Huggy Bear, okay? And don't challenge me on my knowledge of Starsky and Hutch, because I've watched, like, probably almost every episode. Huggy Bear is different than Sugar Bear. Alright. Anyway, a different bear. That's a very different bear, Astrobate. Lamont from Sanford & Son just died. Just saying. If we're going to talk about 70s TV shows, Desmond Wilson, I think was his name. Desmond Wilson, who played the son of Fred Sanford on the iconic comedy series Sanford & Son, just passed away this week. He was like 79. And apparently he'd like given up acting. He had become a like a pastor or something. A minister. He was a minister in addition to being a Vietnam vet and an actor. Anyways, a little bit of TV trivia for you. Alright, so anyways, g6, nothing wrong with this move. What are you going to do? Queen d4? Currently rewatching MASH. Still holds up. Yeah, MASH was quality. I tried to watch Taxi the other day. I tried to watch the first episode of with my daughter of Taxi, but it was so kind of, I don't know, slow that it was a very early episode, but it felt too slow. The production of MASH was very professional, extremely professional. H4, probably a lot more money went into MASH than Taxi. So G6, H4. This is probably White's best try, objectively. Anyway, I'm drifting. I'm thinking about weird stuff. So anyway, Astrobate, normally, since you're not going to get bowled over by a pawn coming to d5, it's now okay to play knight c6. It's not only okay, it's a very good move. Whereas in the Bodler, you might not want to put your knight on c6 early. Since there's no chance of getting d4, d5, it's fine to put your knight on c6 and then play g6. I don't think you're going to really trick anyone. By playing g6, you probably give him some extra options to play this. Anyways. Alright, let's move on. Extra options. There could be some kind of combo. You know, Bodler, like a Bodler Morra, h4, h5, caveman combo. Captain Caveman. Now we're getting into the 80s. So G6, Bishop C4, indeed. And now Bishop G7, the engine says is dubious. Oh, shit. Why do you need Knight C6, boys and girls? Why is Knight C6 better than the Bishop G7 in this position? Because we have the Knight C6 Knight E5? So, if I play this and white plays this, and we're not going to be Ferenc Katona, they're probably dead, so you don't want to be them. This job sucks. Random Justice Department lawyer or whatever. Okay, Queen B3. So I was thinking Queen B3, Bishop, Queen B3, Knight E5, Bishop E2, and, well, I don't see that this is that bad for black. So, you can do that. Just send me to jail and let me sleep for 24 hours. I think they quit already after that outburst. So Bishop G7 is going to get interesting. If I'm not mistaken, white has a choice between Queen B3 and Queen F3. But I mean, Queen F3... Well, either way, I think black's going to have to play E6. And you would rather have your knight on C6 to threaten knight E5. So this is technically an inaccuracy. It would be funny if it wasn't real. Cool Graphic Poland has subscribed. 14 minutes ago, WJ Live resubscribed. I didn't realize that. You resubscribed while I was out of the room. And I'm blurry again. What the fuck? This better stop. I'm gonna have to get a new camera. I need another camera anyway. I should have one on Ponda. I need another, USB camera. Properties, deactivate. I tried to get my old, Amazon cameras. Fucking Jeff Bezos. My old Amazon... does anybody know how to hook up, Amazon cameras so they'll just work like normal cameras? I don't think they do. I have these old Amazon cams that I don't use anymore. What do you call it? But anyway, you can't use them as, webcams. They don't... I don't know how to, detect it. It doesn't show up like a USB camera. Seems like a waste, though. Wonder why Jeff Bezos... Wonder why the Washington Post is collapsing. I stopped my subscription a year ago. It's all starting to fall apart. Okay. Bishop G7. I'm not sorry about the Washington Post. Bye-bye. Bishop G7. Knight F3. Well, I mean, I am in a way, but let it go. He's letting it go. I mean, Jeff Bezos sucks, but I think we gotta let the Washington Post die at this point and stop worrying about it. It's done. Forget about it. So, Astrobeat, this is serious inaccuracy. Bishop C4, Bishop G7. So Queen B3, what do we do? Yeah, can I use my Ring camera to help ICE agents? No, seriously, can I use my Amazon cameras, normal webcams? Queen B3 attacking F7. You can sack a pawn with Knight H6. Bishop H6, Bishop H6, Bishop takes F7 check, King F8. Or you can go behind door number 2 and see what's there with E6. There are some soft squares around our position here. So I think that you got a bad move order. Let's see how bad it is. Queen B3 is best. Knight H6 is best. Acerbate. Remember this. You can give the pawn back. As the great John Fedorovich said. The great thing about the Smith-Morra is that you could just give the pawn back and you're okay, Bishop takes F7 check. Worst case scenario. It's okay. We even have this little cubby hole for our king. And we're threatening to trap their bishop with E6 now. So it's not so easy for white. Anyway, okay, bishop g7, knight f3, and now we transpose back to the Sabalo variation. And white sacrificed the bishop on f7. Duh. This is not a Bughouse tournament, boys and girls. Thank you very much. Bishop takes f7. Double question mark. Novelty. Not good. So e5 may be overrated. I've had a lot of games with that. Don't have to take the pawn. In fact, it's a little dangerous to take the pawn. It's probably not a novelty. I mean, if we go to Lichess, there's going to be like a million bullet games with bishop takes f7 check, sadly. Although if you make the formula so that it's like 2,000 and above, maybe not. E5 is overrated. I think that's okay here. And there is this idea of bishop takes f7 in some positions. This is not one of them. So you just lose a piece. White loses a piece. Check, king takes, knight g5 check. And then, yeah, I mean, it's pretty hard to go wrong here. I think you can actually go to f8 or e8. But e8 is normal. And now queen f3. Very deep. Very deep. You have, what, 4 different ways to defend against the threat of mate. At least. 5. The funny move here would be even like bishop takes e3 check. Then he doesn't know which way to take. Alright, queen f3, he's just down a piece. Knight e5 now. This is my least favorite move in this position due to its lack of constructive nature of, can I say that? The lack of constructive nature of knight e5. So I prefer a constructive move like knight f6 or even knight h6. Knight h6 not as good though because you can't castle through the queen. So I think first choice is knight f6, and it looks like white is lost. White is lost either way. This is also good, but here he can chase you away. So queen g3 and then f4. But for some reason white decided to lose the queen instead with bishop f4. So this is kind of the worst game I've ever seen. And then black was nice, and he didn't want to take the queen, so he played this. Which is good enough. You're up a clear piece, right? Who wants to be greedy? Seriously, Aspirate, okay, you're playing too fast. You're up a piece, whatever. You defended f7. You give him a chance, right? Knight d5. Give him a chance. And now rook f8. This is a little bit risky because h7 is not defended now. So I'm thinking you should play a different move. Not rook f8, but d6. Controlling h3 and preparing to play e6. e6 was a piece. Yeah, that's true too. I forgot we had enough control here. All right. Yeah, e6 is good. e6 is better. Either way is good. d6 is good too, but white has a chance to go back or, you know, and then, yeah. No, e6 is best. e6 is best, yeah. This is already protected. He loses a piece, another piece. So Aspirate, you took it easy on him, but also white chooses the wrong move. I mean, obviously queen h3, attacking h6, and the knight is attacking h7. So here it's not so simple anymore. You're going to have to at least lose a pawn when knight takes h7. And that also weakens g6, so you don't really want this to happen. This is not the best solution. Very, very, very poor game. Queen a3, e6, and now knight e3. And now he wins a piece. Do you know how many times Astrobate has won knights on g5? But it rarely happens in the Smith-Morra. This usually happens in the bishop c4, move 2, move 3, the so-called Bodler. He has a whole collection of these knights. He hangs them on a necklace like human ears in the Vietnam War. All right, so our director with the game for analysis. How many ears do you have on your necklace now? Oh, our director. Get PGN. Get. Get PGN. So grammatically correct. Copy. Okay. It should be like acquire PGN. Add a new chapter. Acquire PGN. Alright. Back to finishing this game out. Astrobate, you got another ear for the collection. Queen takes G5. Yeah, Eva William, not a good game by him. Not a good game by you either. Castles, and then Rook F4. I think our first priority should be king safety, but this does look a little odd. And your pieces on the queen side have yet to show up, so it's actually hard to suggest what black should do here. I mean, you're up 2 pieces. I mean, you could play like b6, but what about this? How are we getting these queenside pieces in the game? King f7, f4, bishop takes f4, g3. Not so easy. Knight f7 maybe. Knight f7, knight g4. Sorry, trading pieces. Looks like a good one. Hey, I looked up hentai. I'm sorry, what century are you from? Did you miss the last 20 years or what? Hey, I just looked up VCRs. Alright. Queen takes g5. I looked up VCRs, video cassettes. Queen takes g5 castles. Rook f4. Very, very weird move. He's obviously trying to do some sort of primitive mate. Okay, you are attacking the e4 pawn. Here. Rook takes e4. Do you have a funny mate? I don't see one. And now bishop takes h2. And this is apparently unsound. He doesn't take. So takes, check, king g1, queen h5, f3, and it's still not mate. Thus, the dubious nature of black sacrificing a piece here. 99 months. That's before you were born, Gigantobear. I like how it seems like just yesterday the pandemic happened, and I was thinking how crazy it is that like the guy who won the B tournament, Andy Woodward, I thought he would be older, but he's only 16. It's really unbelievable, you know, that guy was like 1900 or 1800 when the pandemic started. And now he's like winning the B tournament at Wickense. That's really messed up. Probably a product of the pandemic, really. You know, if you think about it. A lot of people played a lot during the pandemic. Online chess kind of took off. So I think in some cases, except for like Hans, who was the most active player in the world during the pandemic, suspiciously. Stay home. Saved lives, right, Hans? His mother helps setting up his board when he's studying. Oh God. Don't start me with like juice boxes and Tivyakov and stuff like that. My parents were really cool, you know, but they never like embarrassed me, or I didn't start playing tournaments till I was like 12, 11 and a half. But even then, my parents they almost never came in the tournament. They weren't involved, and I was very independent. Chess was a very independent thing for me. I hate that, you know, chess parents. Anyway, whatever. I don't want to talk about it. So, Astrobate, this is a really bad game, dude. We're not going to overanalyze this. F3 and mate. All right. It's over. No talking about chess parents. All right. So under 1850 championship. I just noticed that there's a WFM streamer playing now, this Polish one, and Tosh Queen or whatever. Maybe she streams on chess.com probably. But anyways, the point was there's a Hungarian tournament going on now in Heidelberg. It's like in the middle of nowhere. In the mid north part of northeastern part of Hungary. It's like an under 2400. I just thought it was weird because I saw this Hungarian name, like the Erno Dede Memorial. Probably some player I had seen. They have some memorial tournament, but the section is like under 2400. I'm like, shit, I should have played in that. But still, the prizes aren't really worth it, you know. Prizes, Hungary, no. Yeah, but you rarely see some sort of tournament where the A section is under 2400. That's kind of unique. What I need is under 2300 because my rating is still embarrassingly under 2300. Anyway, I just thought it was funny. She's from Poland and streaming, and I'm like, what is this? It's a Hungarian tournament. Dede Erno. A totally Hungarian name. He must have been a player for this club that's sponsoring this tournament. There's some decent prizes, but not great. Poland, though, if you're from Poland, it's not that far. You just have to cross over Slovakia. If you want to go to, like, Krakow or something like that, it's literally not that far to go from, like, Krakow to like, northern Hungary. All right, anyways, off the topic conversation. This is, wait a sec. Thomas Trenson, maybe we'll hold off on Nefedov. We got Thomas Trenson. My game, that's not really necessary. We can start with our director, if none of those other guys are here. Mr. Coffee, welcome back. Yeah. I wanted to play, National Open? That's under 2300. USCF. Oof. No, at National Open, there's a $5,000 prize for a top under 2300, which is sweet, but USCF, that sucks. I'd have to lose 100 U.S. Chess Federation rating points, and I don't know how long it would take me to do that. Are you analyzing any of our games? Gina Rook, you've been reading too much cartoon porn. That's all I do, is analyze any of our games. Yeah, you never submit games to the stream. You're new here. Of course. No, I don't like to analyze my own games. I honestly don't. You know, I'm very, very modest. I only put my own game in the list if I'm, like, desperate and there's no other games. I hate analyzing my own games publicly. So I prefer games that are not with me. You didn't know what it was. Well, I've only been doing this for like 9 years. Alright, so I'm just teasing. Don't take my jokes, like, hurtfully. So under 1800 championship from Nefedov, Thomas Trenson with the game. So what mistakes do beginners make when they start to analyze their games? Using the engine. Probably too much nowadays, I would say. You should really, write down your own thoughts about the games first. Cartoon porn. So what makes... Yeah, I think analyzing your games without outside influence is a good idea. Make notes about your own games. Botvinnik style. Classical. Don't use ChatGPT to analyze your games. How can you analyze games without engine? All right, I'm going to time you out now. I'm going to have to time him out for that comment. I guarantee that guy plays the London system. That's why he's not a subscriber. Check it out. The quote of the year, how can you analyze your games without an engine? I mean, bro, what are you talking about? It's lazy man's, the engines are ChatGPT for chess analysis. I had a game on Sunday where my opponent offered a draw. And an older player who's a FIDE master who has some idea of etiquette. He's black. He's lower titled. He's lower rated. He offers me a draw. Why? Mr. Coffee? Not because he's a kid and he has no respect for chess etiquette. Why did he offer me a draw? Because he thinks that he's equal. He believed that he was equal. So it's not bad etiquette anymore to offer a higher rated player with a higher title a draw. I guess if objectively you really believe that your position is equal, it's probably reasonable to offer a draw. So I was very polite. I politely said I'd like to play on. But my teammate, who was 2 pawns up against his opponent, who was a kid, I'm sitting there concentrating. There's 2 games left, and I hear this, no! Out loud. I'm like, what is going on? No, he said no, really loud. And imagine, Lajos, in a Hungarian team championship where I'm the only player in the room who's not Hungarian, you hear someone like, no! He declined to draw in English. I thought it was hysterical. He was pissed. He declined the kid's draw in English, and but sadly lost like 4 moves later. Yeah, in English. He lost like 4 moves later. He was 2 pawns up and got mated. It was really sad, It wasn't an easy position to win, but the guy was better, and he was 2 pawns up. There weren't even any queens on the board. Yeah, a psychological. The kid had more time, and the guy was struggling to make progress. But sometimes they offer the draw to make you nervous and time pressure too. It's something else to think about. The guy was pissed and he got upset and he lost. All right. Anyway, so this is our next game. The problem is, yeah. I had a teammate who is an IM. He managed to beat Banus. Yeah, Banus is very solid. I blew a draw against him 2 years ago. I did draw an ending. But I was low on time. I had used all my time to hold the position together the whole game, and then I blew a trivially easy end game because of time. Banus is very solid. Yeah, I don't know who that guy is. Lajos, that's Slovakian, some young Slovakian. Well, everybody's beatable, but Banus has the Ripley, I think that Banus has some sort of Ripley training and probably a Dorian too. Is he Romanian? Oh, he's not Slovenian. He's a Romanian. So, yeah, imagine that all the way across Hungary. Banus, I don't know what Banus' deal is. I suspect he had multiple coaches. So, the weird thing about Banus is I feel an influence from both Ripley and I see I may be wrong, but I'm seeing some influence from Ripley and a Dorian, which is kind of ironic because they're very different, Banus was playing like the Sveshnikov, but he also plays with white like he's Ripley. So with white he plays like Ripley, and with black he plays like what's his face, a Dorian or something. Um, Clearly, he had like multiple super coaches. That's how he's 2600. Um, all right, let's go. So I don't know which game to continue with. Nefedov, Thomas Trenson, our director. I was gonna save the games for people that are here. If Tipu Bot wants to submit a game, that's fine. You are a subscriber. Iatan, this is you. So you're black, you're white. The Ilya Nizhnik is white, but it's a 3-minute game, bro. Okay. I'm not gonna go into massive detail on these 3-minute games. If that's all you play, that's all you play. But it's a blitz game. Let's not take it too seriously. The opening, however, maybe. Knight c3, bishop g7, e4, d6, h3. Okay, Makaganov system immediately one of White's best scoring line against the King's Indian. Nizhnik, I don't know him. I know he's been successful living in the States for like 10 years playing, and he's a GM, plays a lot of Blitz and Bullet, playing 600. But e5 is fine. It's pretty much universal for black to castle. Now, white typically plays bishop e3, bishop g5, and knight f3. So 3 different systems here for white. Bishop e3 maybe is the main move. And then here I think that black, should probably in practice, I think that black should try to be careful about when you were in elementary school, you played a simul against Ribley. I played Ribley twice. We have 2 draws. There was a time I told you. See, Ribley played with Banus. They played on the same club for a while, and there was this funny match when I was on board 1. This is 2nd division. I was board 1. Solansi was board 2. I drew Ribley with black, and Solansi beat Banus. So like there was a huge deal. We were +1 on boards 1 and 2 against Ribley Banus. Banus was still young, but he was still strong. He was already strong. This is like 2010 or something. He was an IM at the time. But drawing Ribley with black wasn't easy. I was lucky to hold him off. He wasn't that bad back in 2010. Now he's old. E5. So I don't think that black should play this all the time. I know like what's his face? Gawain Jones has done some books or analysis on the King's Indian. But I think in practice black has to be really careful because you're going to do this many variations with a quick g4, and black doesn't really get any kind of kingside play. So there have been a lot of cases where black goes under in these lines. I think that practically speaking, black should play the other variations. All of the other variations here are okay. Knight a6, which I've played, c5, Benoni style. It's even possible to play c6 and a6. What happened? I had a game against Galyash. I guess I did something stupid. I don't know why against Galyash I played weirdly. I think I tried to play e5. I must have played c6 and like e5 or something against him. But this a6 c6 setup with b5 playing for b5 isn't so bad objectively. I don't think. So my point is, like, against the Makaganov, I think that players with the black side should be careful about automatically going into these e5 setups. Now, Nizhnik is a very strong player, and he probably knows this, or hopefully he knows it really well. On the other hand, I know that Gawain Jones has done some pretty heavy-duty analysis. I know Hikaru has played the black side of this, other people. One question. This move order here. What's the deal with knight h5? You do g3, right? What am I thinking of? Maybe on the next move after a5. Wait, we'll play g4. It's too late, If you want to play knight h5, you'd have to play it right away. And then white plays g3, stopping the knight from coming to f4. I want to check something. So, for example, computer doesn't think this is so bad. a5, bishop e2, knight f6 back. Yeah, but this is a different position. I'm missing something. Knight f3, e5, d5, knight h5 is better. But that's more like a true Petrosian variation. This is playable for black. But even this one may not be that bad. It's interesting. Bishop e3, e5, d5, knight h5, g3. So a5, say, bishop e2, knight f6, and now h4 or g4. White gets in g4 anyway. So white has a good game. So c6 is the move. The best move. Bishop e2. Zemarov, Yozev, Dobosh. Yeah. So cd5, cd5. You can allow bishop takes h5 maybe. That's totally cutting edge. Knight a6. 20-20. Does anybody want to bet this is a correspondence game? Milto Gennady Ivanovich against Jose Maria. Share and export. ICCF. I thought so. Well, anyway, the assumption here is that black is bad, but I wonder how bad it really is in reality. Maybe playable for black. Minus 0.7 is like a standard classical King's Indian. Does white really want to give up this bishop? It's like a Norwegian rat. Check it out, Wendy. Bishop takes h5. G takes h5. Dude, if black gets in f5... Oh no, g4. Now that's a good move. That's a brilliant move, g4. Anyway, okay, this is an idea. New idea. Let's see what happened in the game, though. So our opponent, Nizhnik, plays e5. You play d5. He plays a5. The standard move. And now g4, which is known. So this is known. And there are games going back to as early as 2007. Ironically, Karpov, which is interesting, but Karpov isn't really Karpov after 2001, I would say. He's someone else. He's just a hobbyist. You can't trust the Karpov games of 2001. He's not playing professionally in a true sense anymore. Karpov Kasimdzhanov 2007. Not the same Karpov. But I mean, c6 is so... Yeah, hit the center, I guess. But knight a6 is fine, too. Knight a6, you're following all this theory, number one move. And now knight d7. Yeah, I always hated this, but there's another possibility. Can we go back for a second? There is another line that's important. Knight a6 right away. Maybe, I tried to study this a while ago. It was 6 years ago. I was thinking about playing the King's Indian again. And I had looked a little bit at what I would do with black. You can play knight a6 immediately, which is interesting. If you check this out, g4, not knight c5, maybe c6 or knight d7. There was something with this and coming here. I guess not c6 then. If I go here, no, I can't find the game I'm looking for. I'm not sure about knight c5. Let's see. Knight c5, f3 like an Averbach, a5. This looks good for white. Knight edge e2, c6, queen d2, cd5, cd5, bishop d7. This is very standard. So I don't know. You like knight f3 better, but I don't know why it would be better. g4 seems most efficient. So Caruana Jones, let's see this. This is Caruana Jones. Is that going to show on a different board? Are you guys seeing this? Or did that shift boards on me? Are you seeing this? Yeah, okay. So this is Caruana Jones 2018. Yeah, this is something completely different. H5. This is not the game I was thinking of. Alright. Anyways. Let's go back. So, your game was A5. That was the main line. G4, knight A6. Here, knight D7. Maybe there's some line where black puts the knight on B6 here? Is that what I'm trying to remember? You played knight G3. What if you played queen D2? There's still never any moves with queen with knight B6. Okay, here. Now H4 is the best move. And Nizhnik plays F5, which I had a game like this against Kotso Krzysztof, who's a really weak FM. This was like 7 years ago. In the Budapest Teen Championship, the guy's like 2,000. He's probably even lower than that now. He has some kind of nervous disorder. He is like really not such a bad player, but has like some sort of OCD or something. So he's sort of disabled, and he got a huge advantage against me, just like this. And I offered a draw, and he took it. But I mean, I was like almost lost, spatially with black. I was like, thank God he took the draw. Because I probably was going to lose, I'm just like crushed. I had to do something like F6. Because I was unwilling to play F5. This looks insane, honestly. I had literally this type of position with black against Kotso Krzysztof. Played F6 and offered him a draw. And like prayed he would take it, and he did. Because I'm like 350 points higher. And offered him a draw. I knew I was like almost lost. But still, white has to do the work and win the position. So he was like happy to take the draw, whatever. F5's terrible though. I don't see how black can justify giving up the light square bishop. He's gonna be lost. It looks like he's gonna be lost on the light squares. Do I remember that game? Well, I don't remember everything. I just remember the general circumstances of the game, I was like lost against the 1990. And I offered him a draw and he took it, thank God. F5, G takes F, G takes F, knight takes F5. Tomaszewski took with the pawn. I mean, black's probably going to capture anyway, so it would likely transpose. I don't think that black has better. When you take with a knight, I mean, is there any chance black could sack the exchange? Like rook takes f5, pawn takes f5, bishop takes f5? It's probably not good for black either. Well, then again, he could do that anyway. Someone played e4. Okay, Bilyukov played e4. This guy is a well-known, Belarusian grandmaster, I think. There might be more than one, but I mean, the one that I knew of is an old school, experienced player. Possible there's different Bilyukovs now. Let's see what the engine says. Rook takes f5 is really unsound. e4 is possible. But bishop takes f5 is probably best. Clear advantage to white. So, anyway, knight takes f5. Rook takes f5 dubious. Well, yeah, he can play e4, right? I don't know that this is dubious. I mean, objectively. I don't think it's really dubious. We're transposing to Cuenca versus some guy. The position is awful for black. You have no control of the light squares, and you have redundant knights on the queen side with a one-move threat of, well, sometimes knight b4. But this is exactly why I don't want to play this stuff with black. It's just awful, So you play bishop h3. I would want to develop, so ultimately you want a castle queenside. I would lean toward playing this, I would think. I'm also not sure where your bishop should go, necessarily. So I figure queen g4, and I don't know what black plays. He has a lot of different moves, but none of them are very appealing. Rook f7, queen f8, queen f6 looks dubious. Queen f6 probably loses to bishop h3. I'm not sure. There's a check here. But I think that this looks awkward for black. So this is kind of committal. You lose control of d3 if that knight comes in. Your bishop is a good defender on this diagonal. And I like the fact that it can go both directions. Again, I don't want to overanalyze a blitz game. But I feel like that way if you go with the queen, you can castle queenside. Plus your bishop stays looking both ways. You can put it on e2 without blocking your queen. Maybe the engine said queen g4, I don't know. Here. Yeah, and so you did queen e2, but I think this is a big mistake. The light squares. Maybe e2. Now maybe you thought about it in some concrete way. I don't know. You're not defending when an e4 happens, you have a queen protecting the knight on c3. I'm always looking for the weak squares. You don't want to allow knight d3 check, and knight b4 is a threat. So if you play queen e2, knight b4, castle queenside, yes, black could get some attacking chances with stuff like this and the a file and e4. I mean, I'm aware of the fact that black could have some threats here. Maybe you are afraid to castle queenside, but then maybe you shouldn't play this variation. I don't know. It's pretty sharp. But I think your bishop shouldn't leave f1, and you wouldn't have as many problems. Bishop h3 definitely looks bad. What are you going to do with it? Put it on e6? It blocks your rook, too. Alright, so here, 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 and then e4, and now you played bishop g5. But, I mean, normally, well, this is a problem. Yeah, your queen has nowhere to go. It would have been better on e2, I'm saying. Your queen is blocked in by your own pieces. King b1, if you do anything, this is a good prophylaxis. King b1 is good against everything. You go to a white square. There's no, no check with knight d3. If he tries to play something like this, you have, well, you might have tactics. It's sharp. I think king b1 is a good move. You can't play, for example, bishop d4 because of knight d3 check. So if it would make bishop d4 possible, you know, I'm not sure if you want to play that because f2 gets weak. I think the problem is here you don't have a clear plan. The obvious move is like a rook to the g file, threatening some sacrifices. Constructive. So I don't like bishop g5. This also seems very artificial. It's a 3-minute game. You're playing, yeah, it's a 3-minute game. I mean, so you're just making moves. You need time here. But I think development, you know, this is not really a developing move. Queen e8, of course. And, you know, what are you doing? And you have way less time than him. Bishop h6 is a reasonable move. What's he going to do? Sack the exchange? He has no rook takes f2 because of bishop takes g7 check. So he can take on h6 and take on f2, or play the text move, knight d3. Sorry, he didn't play it. Knight d3 check is really obvious here. And then something takes on there. Now you have maybe some threats. You know, I'm not really sure even this is that big of a deal. But I think the bottom line is that you made a sequence of bad moves. Bishop h3, and bishop g5, and now finally bishop h6. What did you do constructively in the last 3 moves with these bishop moves? You develop no pieces except putting your bishop on h3, where I would argue that it's even a little bit out of play because it's on the side of the board. It's way better on like e2, where it has these 2 diagonals. Nothing really there. You know, the only thing you can do with it is stick it on e6. And it does block your rook as well. It blocks the rook supporting the h-pawn. So tactically, this is some sort of mistake. I guess he just takes. Yeah, just take, and then take on f2. Take, check, take on f2, win the exchange. Black played queen e7. He was playing quick. Bishop g7 check. And now, yeah, okay. Rook g1. And then e5 is obvious. But black also has knight d3 check. He could play, for example, knight d3 check, king b1, and then queen d4. And you don't really have any threats. The other rook, you know, objectively, yeah, your rook on d1 is maybe more in play than the rook on h1. But you have a big problem with f2 now. So really the bishop should have stayed on e3. And you should have just played, you know, play the rook move immediately. Or if you want to, do the other rook. But I think moving the king is also fine. Yeah, you playing a strong player, you had no plan. Looks like you got lucky here, but trading queens. Black doesn't want to trade and open up the H file for you. So that's the trick. If he takes and tries to win a pawn, you suddenly have some threats with this H file. I don't know if it's enough though. It looks like he probably would be getting mated here. So I mean maybe he should take. Because you have this threat of knight d3 check. I mean, he has this threat. But what are you going to do? Your counterplay is pretty slow. Let's see. g6, knight d3 check. King here. Rook takes check. King a1, knight b4, threatening mate. You have g7. That's mate. So you mate first. This is the only case where your bishop is actually on a good square. Alright, so on queen g5, he decides it's too dangerous to trade. Could play this, by the way. And black should never lose here. Black is clearly more active, better structure, slightly better structure. But he goes queen f6, neutral move, takes. And And, well, all I can say is you need to get rid of that e4 pawn because it's smoking you. Bishop f1 was best. So what's the biggest mistake of this game? Knight d3 check, king c2. Oh, okay, you lost. You lost in time. I don't know why I thought you, like, won. I guess I thought you were white at first. Bishop f1 is best, you're in trouble if that's your best move. Yeah, you're probably lost. Alright. Thanks for sharing. He's a strong player. Hey, Move 11. Voted most likely to submit a late game to the analysis stream on Thursdays in your high school class. Mr. Coffee resubscribed. 99 months set. That was not new. Connor McChicken has followed. That's Connor McChicken Jr. You Connor McGregor. Good old Conor McGregor. Love him. He's a great guy. Alright. Hey, if we have time. Oh no, a real game? Who said you can analyze real games? Copy, learn, study. Move 11 is a founder. Move 11, are you at 100 months yet? Move 11 might be at 100 months. He should be, actually. That's a big milestone. If Mr. Coffee has 99, I think Move 11 must have 100. Better luck next time. Gina Rook. Gina Rock. That sounds cooler. Alright. Study. Gina Rocks. That should be your name. Gina Rocks and reads hentai. Alright, we're up to, those are new games. We're up to Nefedov, Thrinson. Is anybody here? Move 11's at 103 months. Saz Sharom. My dialect is horrible. Saz Harom. Harom. Saz Harom. 103. Saz Harom. Saz Harom. 103 months subscribed. Very good, very good. A nice exchange Lopez. There's no such thing as a nice exchange Lopez. Just ask Nefedov. A nice exchange Slav. Analyzed by Jesse Cry. I had a friend who just wanted to quit chess. He played the black side of the Lopez. People would play the exchange variation against him. He liked to play the Marshall. He just wanted to, he was physically ill. One tournament we went to, first round of the tournament, he's black and plays some guy who plays the exchange. He just wanted to leave the tournament right away. I couldn't blame him. I was like, yeah, I'd want to leave too. Exchange Lopez, great. Oh, okay, I get you. It's Nefedov. I thought you were talking about your game, Move 11. But that's all we need is 2 exchange Lopezes. You were desperate lately against the Lopez, so I thought maybe you'd switch to playing the exchange variation. Thank God you didn't. This looks like one of these variations my former student in Boston used to play. He was 2000. Larry Dean. He was an architect. I wonder if he's still around. He'd probably be 15 years older than me. He's probably late 60s, 70. Maybe more. Larry Dean. Alright. Larry Dean played the exchange variation. Nefedov plays the exchange variation. E4, E5, knight f3, knight c6, bishop e5, a6, bishop takes c6. Yeah, I want bishop takes c6 to be okay for white, but I want it to be okay for white. I'd like to play it. It's simple. It's straightforward. Yeah, there's just nothing really fun for white here. So, d takes c6. I've played this against Nefedov a couple of games. It is possible. I do think that people will underestimate that move. B takes C is actually playable. A lot of people don't realize that. Honestly, even people who kind of know the exchange variation, I think they just assume that it's bad. You can't assume this is necessarily bad. We can see it was played by Larson against Ulf Anderson in 1972. All fans of Spanish Exchange. Spanish Exchange is gross, but it is playable. Okay, so Nefedov castles, and Potzer's play knight takes e5. It's just bad. So you have to play either castles, knight c3, or d4. A funny thing is Rosenthalis, who plays d3. This is supposed to be like utterly like toothless. But it feels like white. I'd like to see like Rosenthalis play this against Ivanchuk or something. Ivanchuk, sorry. It doesn't seem like the position can be equal. I mean, either white is okay or he's not. I mean, this is so passive. D3 is so passive. It's hard to believe that black isn't better. Because I only mentioned Ivanchuk because I saw him once win a similar structure. Very nice game. Ultimately, if white doesn't do something, this is going to rain down on you. If you don't break with d4, then black will secure e5 and then attack your ass on the king side. So what are you going to do? I used to try to play the exchange sometimes, but it's lame. I could never make it work. d3 seems so stupid and slow, so you have to castle, and now there's the bishop g4. Castles is critical. Okay, so bishop g4 is a major variation. f6 is the main line, and now we go d4. You have to, and then black has a choice. So I always played pawn takes pawn when I'm black against Nefedov. I lost the last time. Pawn takes pawn is technically fine, but the Larry Dean variation has always had a following. I mean, this move is more developmental. There's Ivanchuk. Oh, fuck. What a coincidence. He beat Caruana with black. Why in the world was Caruana playing the exchange variation? Okay, it was 2011, but he was still 2700. Don't play the exchange variation against Ivanchuk, okay? It's stupid. So c3 is a move. That's what Fabiano did to lose, actually. This is well known. This is the Larry Dean. D takes e5, queen takes. Uh-oh, Kamsky was black. Sorry, Kamsky was white against Nefedov, against Carlsen. Nefedov Carlsen. Kamsky is Nefedov's biggest hero. I don't know if Nefedov's here, but he usually is. So Kamsky losing to Magnus in this variation. Very interesting. Coincidence? What if Nefedov really is Kamsky? What if they're the same person? What if they're connected somehow? Queen takes e1, rook takes d1. And now f takes e5. No, bishop takes f3 is stupid. So you have to play f takes e5. And then rook d3 is main line. And this is what Larry Dean used to play, which was awkward for me because I was coaching the guy, and I literally know nothing. I knew nothing about this line. Fischer, Spassky, 1972. I think that's the problem. That's the problem right there. I don't know about, Nefedov, who's younger, but Larry Dean was the kind of guy who would be exactly the right age to have been influenced by Fischer World Championship match in 1972. If you're 18 years older than me, you're probably getting into chess around the time when Fischer wins the World Championship. So you're thinking, oh, the exchange variation. Yeah, Bobby Fischer beat Spassky. There are some people who really, believed Fischer, though, honestly, by 1972, he had given up playing the exchange variation, for the most part. He used it a lot in his earlier career. Fischer was actually very good against the Lopez. So I don't know how many games he had with Spassky. I never analyzed the World Championship match game for game. But normally normally Bobby would have played not the exchange variation anymore. He used it mostly in like the 60s. Fischer had a kind of weak repertoire when he started. He played the King's Indian Attack. He played the Exchange. He played the Exchange Caro-Kann. So he had a very like homemade sort of so-so opening rep, and then improved as he got better. This exchange, yeah. So Bishop D6. Is that the main move? I mean, I'm thinking. I don't remember now. White plays knight on BD2 anyway. Yeah. Knight on BD2, Bishop D6, knight on BD2. You didn't play knight on BD2, so that's the main line. Gold Dirkhand, you're like the master of chess cliches. Dragonfly Hunter, what's up? No, Fischer I thought was a wonderful player on the white side became a great player on the white side of the Spanish. But I think in his youth he had no opening rep, so he played these sort of forcing lines, which probably made him a better player all around. But Fischer was really literally like self-taught. Like me. We're always self-taught to a point, though. Black has a bishop pair. Yeah, well, one bishop's better than the other one. Yeah, bishop pair not that good here. Because of the bishop on d6 being like a giant pawn. Some bishops are better than other bishops, other pawns. This bishop is a good bishop. This bishop is horrible. If Black doesn't have the bishop pair, he's just worse. But definitely don't overestimate Black's bishop pair in this position. Right, we remember the rematch. Dragonfly Hunter covering it live. Bishop g5 now. So I didn't know this is the move. I always saw this. Knights before bishops. So Nefedov with secret sauce. Bishop g5, Gufeld, Tal, 1988. When was this first played? Gdansky, Anand, White lost. Lost with White. Here in the solid endgame. World Junior Championship, 1987. Definitely World Junior Championship. Gdansky, Anand, 87. Anand is like 3 years older than me. Maybe more. Maybe more like 4. I'm not sure. So what's the deal with Bishop g5? It's an interesting move. You get it outside without blocking it in. So what's the biggest question? If h6, you just go back to h4 and you head for g3 and you're going to put pressure on this pawn. I kind of like this move. It is our good bishop, but who cares? What if Black pulls your What if Black calls your bluff and plays knight f6? That's what he did. It's tempting to play like knight e7. You could also play knight e7 with the idea of knight g6. This move has to be pretty seriously considered. Because here we're going knight g6 supporting that e5 pawn. So if knight d2, for example, knight g6, knight c4, whatever. This actually looks a little scary. Solozhenkin. Not to be confused with Solzhenitsyn. Apparently Black is okay. although he could only draw with the 2200. So knight f6 might be better. Let's take a look. So here, first of all, bishop pair, sometimes the two knights are better than two bishops. Or sometimes the two knights are better than a bishop and knight. So if we take, and you take, this is what happened in Gufeld Tal. Abasov has a game from 2010. Alonso has a game from 1999. Alonso playing the white side exchange Lopez. That's a bit weird. Alonso probably influenced by Bobby Fischer as well. That generation. Alonso's definitely influenced by Bobby Fischer. Why would Alonso play the exchange? Because he also plays the white side of the Lopez well. Probably played both. Two knights against two bishops. No breaks. Only f5. You can totally play this way. I'm getting the feeling that Nefedov is not here. He hasn't commented. So knight f6, knight d2. And now b5 is the main move, preventing knight c4. Black does not do that. So if you play b5, you weaken your queen side to some degree. Making things like a4, c4 possible. Also, okay, weakening this, but this is what you're going to do. b5 is a very logical move. Instead, black castle, which is a queenside castles is a theoretical novelty. You're in a pin, which is suboptimal. Castling kingside allows what? This is a Gdansky Anand game. So Gdansky traded, Anand took with the pawn and went on to win this game. Although, objectively, white looks fine. White is slightly better. So Anand, did not win because of his position. But castle's queenside pins black on the bishop rook diagonal. Now no longer. But what are we doing on knight c4? Knight takes e4, okay. So here Nefedov's play seems illogical, but maybe not, because I don't know, man, something weird about this. Rook d1. You play rook d1, but I'm not sure that rook is on a good square where it is. So Nefi here, I don't know. What are we supposed to do with white? Maybe he should play... So the point was it's like a defensive move. He wanted to make sure black doesn't take over the d file. Okay. Rook d1. Black plays this. And now we go here. So we're not at risk of losing the d file. We protect the e4 pawn. Solid. Here. Bishop h4. Black plays this. And now bishop g3. And now knight d7. It all seems very logical. So the bishop pair is again... Here's the problem. And Bobby Fischer was famous for this. He doesn't have any bad pieces. White does not have any bad pieces, and black does. And there were some people who claimed that Fischer was very, very conscious of that, in his play. If you look at Fischer's games as a whole, and I also try to do this, I try to make an effort to consciously avoid having bad pieces. Like the French fence, I don't play at all. I don't play the Queen's Gambit Decline. Openings where you have this like notoriously bad bishop on c8. You called it. All makes sense now. So white has two good knights. Well, they're redundant, but they're going to be good. And they're going to get distant redundancy soon. But white has no bad pieces. Good bishop. But black has this bishop on d6 that makes a difference. So now knight c4. White doesn't care about the doubled pawns on f3. White cares about winning a pawn. Takes, and now what? If rook f6... Nefedov has What am I seeing here? If rook f6, rook d1. Easy. Winning a pawn in some variations. So black plays h5, h3, rook h6, rook d1, and now h4 question mark. But why? h4 is bad positionally. White's bishop is pretty bad. Well, okay, in a practical sense, maybe, but in the strategic sense, no, because it still has direct pressure on the e5 pawn. It's still better than black's bishop on d6, even if it's stuck on h2. This is like maybe not maintainable. I mean, g5 is weak, so even if we have to play bishop h2, we can play like king e2, king f1, king e2, put some pressure on g5. Even if black is okay here, I think that he's going to have to play for a draw. We have pressure on this, maybe an f4 break, but it's unlikely that black can really do anything. Yeah, our bishop is... If you have an active... You could have an active bad bishop. So we have a new category of pieces. It's the inactive good bishop. You've created a new category, Chessy, bro. Inactive good bishop. Well, really thanks to the stupid pawn on f2, you know. If there was no pawn on f2, White would rather not have the pawn on f2, maybe objectively. Then our bishop can drop back, London system style, to g1. So can black hold this position with passive defense? I mean, there are maneuvers here, here, here. Black's all out of pawn breaks for sure. We can move the king here to control f3, protect f3. That's like very dubious move. But what can black do? The only other option is rook f6, right? Oh no, it's mate. Oh no. Oh no. If only black had played b5 or b6, everything would be okay now. But there's the back rank mate. Oh no, I see everything. Check. This is acerbate favorite. So he can't maintain the pawn. Oh my god, that's why h4 is so bad. Although it doesn't really matter. I mean, can you play rook e6? Okay, leaving the back rank. Rook e6 isn't going to help. So what's he going to play if not h4? Double on the f-file? We can double on the f-file. Probably king g2. Although I don't know that that does anything. Can we double on the f-file? I take, check, you take, I take, you take, we all take, king up, and then rook back, and it looks pretty bad for black. This bishop, this good bishop, is still a factor. Maybe this, but I'm still not trusting black's position. We're winning. Bishop takes e5. Oof. So that doesn't work. Yeah, this is totally winning for white. So black's only move was knight c5. Immediately. But he played the next move. If knight c5, knight d6, pawn d6, rook d6, this is his only chance. Rook d6, rook d6. Rook takes f3. And white is slightly better. King g2. Okay, basically the same thing with a knight on c5 instead of d7. Nefedov's still better. These pawns all look like weak. So for example, rook h6, knight e4, rook takes h5. Technical ending. Very easy to lose this for black. This is hanging. The rook ending looks bad. Maybe you can go here. But the h-pawn's too fast. Yeah, no, I think Nefedov's got him now. He can't hold it together. It's too late. Take, take, take. And once you lose the base, no more bad bishop. Oh no, there's no bad bishop. Oh shit. Oh my god. No. Oh my god. So let's calculate. King g2 takes, knight c4 check, king f3, knight d6. Bishop takes e5. King d7. Bishop f6, knight f7, king g4. There are definitely endgames where Nefedov is winning, where all of the black pawns fall on the king side, but white keeps the h-pawn. So let's see what happens here. I feel like this may not be a blunder. Maybe he saw it? Because we're still better. I expected king d7, but apparently like this is black's best move. But I don't know about this, and we need to call up Edgar McCormick. No, Edmar Mednes. Maybe Bobby Fischer himself. This is actually the kind of opening where Fischer would have been able to really show his stuff in, and actually Goldor Khan called it right. The cliche of the two bishops could lead to this happening. The two bishops wasn't good, but now the one bishop is good. You know, we are better here. Even if knight c4, bishop f6, knight takes b2, bishop takes g5. Black's got to fight for a draw here. He probably can draw, but I mean, I would imagine that it takes good technique. Gonna take very good technique. Plus 0.8 for white. So that means there's a million ways to go wrong. You had bishop takes knight? Oh no. I had bishop takes knight? Oh shit. Alright. I had bishop takes knight. So bishop d4 is actually best? Wow. Yeah, this is a Bobby Fischer endgame. So maybe Nefedov was right all along. So black, I thought black would play king d7, but this loses. You can't. So you can't blame the guy for knight f7. Oh my god, Nefedov's a genius. It looks like a Sludgy Simul game. Oh no. And Nefedov drew. Bobby Fischer's not going to draw this. 95 check. Check. No check. King f5, okay. So a tactical win. My instinct is to move the bishop, not the king. I think there's a problem here. Why does Nefedov want to put his king in front of his pawn? I'm not sure about that. I think the way you win this position is by using the h-pawn as like a decoy, you know, so I feel this is wrong. You should play bishop somewhere instead. I guess here, although that's kind of a big tempo. I'm not sure you should do that. So what square would you like to put your bishop on, sir? I guess part of the problem is that there is no really attractive square. I don't know. Let's say bishop d8. Knight f3 check, king g3, knight e1, or knight d4, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to blame Nefedov. King h5, yeah, it's tempting. I'm not sure. Pass pawns must be pushed. Who said that? Passed pawns must be pushed. So if we go like h4, the pawn itself can become a target more easily. Maybe we don't necessarily want to play h4 right away. b3. Man. I believe that he's still winning. Now you played bishop c3, but why? To stop knight d4, okay. How long can you stop it? Forever? Yeah, okay. Can we give him the c2 pawn? So I just want to say, okay, you cut his king off with that move. It might be better, but he's going to play b5, obviously. So I'm not sure what do we gain here. We stop bishop d4, we control the king. Okay, fine. Here, no a3, just king somewhere. Maybe king g5. Yeah, I'm just saying what the engine says. No. a3 can't be that bad. And then king g5, good. b4, okay, one set of exchanges, not the end of the world. Takes. On the diagonal. Dominating. Knight b8. Now we're winning. But I have a question. Is there any situation where you want to put like b3 in there? Probably not. h4. Bishop g7 allows king f7. I'm not sure that's necessarily a problem. Say you go here, he goes here, then you go back. You played bishop d4. Doesn't matter. You're winning here after king f5. This has got to be a win. b3. b3, c3. It makes sense. How do you not win this position? You could also play king this. h5 is probably okay. Knight e6. Now, you have choices. What was the quote in my Larson, you put a Larson quote earlier, Asterbate. Do you remember? What's the number one mistake beginners typically make? They're impatient. That's the way that, well, not just beginners, like everybody. Chess players in general are most likely to make a mistake because they're impatient. So here we're being impatient. Okay, so if you play bishop e3, he has knight g7 check. I bet you're winning here too. Even if you give him the pawn. The point of the h-pawn is to be a decoy, not to force it through. Oh my god. So Nefedov is like totally winning. This must be like a time scramble with a sudden death time control or something. He outright blunders with h6. Holy shit. Allowing knight takes d4? Oh my god. h6, knight takes d4? What? So everything wins, like bishop e3. There's zero hope for black in this position. King d5. Give him the pawn, whatever. You know, we're totally winning. That'll be a process. But h6 allowing knight takes d4. You're lucky you're not lost or something after this. Jeez. That's crazy. Only time pressure can explain that, you know. It's totally drawn now. I had this one time where we were analyzing with Lincic and Kosic. I don't know, knight versus 3 pods, but knight versus 2 is pretty straightforward. All right, that's crazy. I think Nefedov is a sandbagger, and he just plays the whole game for practice, and then gives the guy a draw because he doesn't want his rating. He doesn't want his rating getting over 1850. This is the under 1800 championship. Nottinghamshire versus Staffordshire. If Nefedov goes over 1850, he can't play anymore. So as soon as he got close to winning, he just like blundered on purpose and gave the guy a draw. Okay, Thomas Treinson. Tomas hasn't been on the stream lately. That's insane. I mean, you can't make that blunder with an increment. The only way you can make that blunder is if like you're sudden death or something, and your flag is hanging. Nefedov's not that bad of a blitz player, you know. I can't imagine he would make that move when it's so many other safe options. So Thomas is white, playing the English. Sort of Nefedov style. Like Thomas seems like a really aggressive player who's trying to play hypermodern chess. He said this is his first good game in a long time, but I feel like he'd be more deadly with e4. So this early d3, I don't know what this is. My opinion of d3 is that it may feel like you're like getting out of book, but ultimately it's a very committal move. So I would refrain from playing this. You're basically being black. Now you're really being black. You're playing a hypermodern opening already, and by playing a slow move, in this case, you know, knight c3, knight f3. I like a3 better, if I'm going to be honest with you, than d3, because it's more flexible. g3, knight f3, even the, you know, what's it called? The Rachmaninoff variation. Super hypermodern. If you really want to be eccentric, you can play knight g1. But the Shirazi in reverse. Yeah, I don't like d3. I mean, it's like you're black now. d5, and that's justified. And honestly, you know, the d3 justifies it. Normally d5 wouldn't be good, but I think that your move literally justifies d5. You're playing and it's an incisive move by your opponent. You're playing Moscow variation with like reversed colors. This has to be okay for black. And he might even play a Smith-Morra, but I don't think he should, you know. The point is that if you take, he takes with the queen. He doesn't need to play the Smith-Morra. And if you play knight c3, boom, you know, bishop b4, and it's a Moscow check-over variation, whatever, check-over variation with reverse colors. Which is okay for both sides, you know, but still, it's kind of a passive way to play the English. So I would avoid it. All right, but still, you can outplay your opponent from equal position, whatever. Knight f3. Now, okay, this is a reasonable move. What are you going to do on takes? I don't think that's black's best move, though. Black should just simply play knight c6. If they take, you have you have gambits. You could play knight c3. Pawn takes pawn, knight takes e5. But I mean, seriously, I don't know. Queen a4 check? Maybe this isn't so stupid. Yeah. No, I think it's okay. It's not stupid. There's some cases when queen a4 is not good. But I think this one is probably fine. You know, I would think. This should be fine. Black can play like bishop d7, queen takes, knight c6. And I think the position is probably close to equal. It's basically equal. Alright, knight f3 is okay. It's not a bad move. That black should play knight c6, that's what he did. And now he takes on d5, so it's a reverse check over, avoid, you know, anti-check over variation. Queen takes d5, knight c3. Now you can play a3 here. And I had this game with Urheji Marton. Urheji Martin a couple months ago, back in November. We had a draw. He played the checkover variation against me, and I played a6. It's probably one of the best lines for black. By playing a3, you prevent anything from coming to b4. But the idea is also, and this is what I did against Martin, I equalized really easily with black. You don't necessarily put your knight on c3. So it's like Tsuba died recently. He put this in perspective in his book, Dynamic Chess Strategy, that knight c3 is played to automatically by a lot of people. I mean, ultimately, the queen here is going to have to move anyway. Even if you don't attack it with the knight on c3, something's going to attack it eventually. If not like g3, bishop g2, then e4 probably. And Tsuba even gave an example of like knight a6, knight c4, knight e3. So anyway, in the hedgehog, for example, this is going to have to retreat back anyway. You don't necessarily have to play knight c3. And if you play knight c3, he just died. So if you play knight c3, you're going to block your bishop on b2. So I think a3 is best, with the idea of playing a hedgehog type of setup. You know, e3, knight on b to d2, queen c2, and then b3 or b4, and bishop b2. We can put pressure on the e5 pawn. That's what I did with black. I think this is best. You know, it's very important not to set up wrong. And Urhej was talking about how he had an opponent who automatically did that too, and white got, or you know, his opponent got kind of a bad position. I think it's important not to do that. You know, you have the play along the c file, you have this hedgehog formation, you have your bishop coming to b2 where it will be open. So this is fine, but it's a little automatic. And now black has a choice between, you know, different plans. This is the standard, bishop b4. But black can also play a kind of Magnus Carlsen style setup here, no? The queen d7. Maybe even queen d7. Idea of b6, bishop b7, I don't know. That's a Magnus Carlsen attack in reverse. Let's see, queen d7, g3, b6, bishop g2, bishop b7, knight takes e5. That may not be healthy for black. So with black, we can't get away with that. Yeah, this is possible. Queen d8 is possible. Queen d6 is possible. Queen c5 looks a little bit too much. So bishop e4 is best. Probably best to just go here. Alright, so he goes here. It's passive. g3 is best. Knight f6. And now Giri Gukesh. Unbelievable. Giri Gukesh. Giri actually won with bishop g5. Gotta say, I'm a huge skeptic. This is actually a kind of funny thing, you know, Gukesh playing this way. Makes you wonder, it was probably a fast game, but it kind of makes you wonder, like, is Gukesh just trying to keep Giri out of book? Because he's playing something totally weird, you know, with black. But I'm skeptical of bishop g5. Like, what are we going to do? Are you going to trade your bishop off? What are you going to get for it? Are you trying to equalize? I don't see ever trading this bishop on g5 on f6 in a positive way. This is maximum equal. What's the point, really? It feels very artificial. But Giri knows more than me, so maybe he has something here, but I don't see it. Bishop g2, and now, again, I think that bishop g5 is overrated, so I wouldn't play h6 with black. What's wrong with just simple bishop e7? Wow, Videk Kishandor versus Pragnan Ha? Where in the world was that played? Where would Videk Kishandor have played Pragnan Ha in 2023? Aika Rapid Tournament. Oh my god. Alright, so they got Prague to play there in 2023. Bishop g2. I think this move is too late. You know, black missed their chance to play bishop b4. Does it mean they reach the same way? No, it can be transmission of moves. Yeah. Bishop b4 is too late. If you wanted to play that, you should have played it before. It doesn't make sense now. I don't like bishop b4 anymore. Playable, but why? So either bishop e7, bishop c5 maybe. Actually, at this point, while we're at it, I see no problem with bishop c5, the Bodler. The computer likes bishop d6, bishop e7. Black played bishop e4. Yeah, it's a move. Castles. And now, Thomas Streinsen. Jeroen's doing this in the Rossalimo. I'm like, what are you doing? I hate a3. Black's move is suspicious, and I think that he has trouble justifying this exchange on c3. Now, you can always play like Geary with bishop g5, probably more justified in this position. You can play routinely with bishop d2, but I wonder what white's best move is here. Is there anything else we could do? The problem is there's not that many options. I mean, it's either bishop g5, bishop d2, the move played in the game, which I really don't like, a3, or something very abstract, you know, knight e1. I don't like that move. Rook b1, for example, a kind of secret, deep thought type of move, but ultimately you're probably giving Black a chance to change his mind and admit like he made a mistake and like go back or something. And I would probably consider going back. Honestly, after Rook b1, I don't know. So, I mean, this move might not be that bad. Looks slow though. Yeah, I mean, bishop d2 is gonna be my a3 is not that bad. Queen c2 allows knight d4. When we don't necessarily want to do this. We don't have that many options. You know, ironically, queen b3 might be better than queen c2. But once again, I think a5. So, yeah, we don't have too many options. Either bishop g5 or bishop d2. I think that's it. Let's see what the computer says. Wow, it likes Tomas's move. Tomas cheating. Let's see if we let it run, though. That's step 24. Let it run. It's going to change its mind. Queen a4, outside the scope of our imagination. It likes a3. Thomas, you cheated. God. Brilliancy. Thomas going against the principles here with a3. The engine agrees with him. The engine doesn't like bishop d2. It's interesting. Wow, a3. I was going to criticize this as too slow. But ultimately, Thomas decided that it didn't matter that much here. And I can accept that. Still, I try to keep a systematic approach to positions. I was hoping we'd have something better than a3. This is, however, too committal. Doesn't really do anything. This is quite passive. I admit this is a strange position where there's no obvious move. This is funny. Now you have a tactical threat of knight takes e5. But let's just say Black did what I said in the other position, a5. Then what? What's the point now? Why is our queen on a4, and how can that be good? It just does a3 anyway. So I don't know. Yeah, it's an odd position where it's hard to do anything. So a3 not as bad as I thought. You cannot let him break your structure. So we can all just sit here and be like, yeah, the engine said a3, all right? But I think that the point is going to be further out. The justification of a3 is further out. What do we do now? How is this variation okay for white? Because if I take on e4, my structure gets fucked. And I don't really see a way to justify that. So there must be some really subtle idea here. We cannot take on e4. To justify Thomas's move, white has to find some miraculous move. Knight g5, yes, is possible, right? Fighting for e4. But another possibility is this. This is kind of interesting. If you go here, what does black do? Because there's a line, knight takes d4, pawn takes d4, queen takes d4, bishop e3. So this isn't good enough, right? This isn't good enough. I don't think this is good enough. I think that white has compensation for the sacrificed pawn. There's no way white's better. It's like 0.3. Okay. This is not the refutation. So the suggestion of knight g5, there's also knight h4. Notice this is not a possibility. It looks bad. Astrobate, I told you not to put your knights on the side of the board. Knight e1. Knight e1 is the other move. Yeah. Ghost bishop. So after knight e1, we have no threat. Problem is we're breaking our protection here. If after h6, appropriate now. Yeah, I'm going to go with Gulderkan. I think that he's got to play knight g5 because this is the only move that forces black's hand. Anything else is too passive. You've got to force black. He can't play like bishop f5 and maintain the position. He just loses a pawn. So if you play knight g5, he has to take now. And this is the question. I don't love the structure. So what are we doing after pawn takes? Let's say pawn takes. Black to play. You know, now white has not really hanging pawns. There's something else. Technically, for those to be hanging pawns, there have to be two open files in front of them, right? I don't know what they're called. What would Hans Kamak call these pawns? They're not really hanging pawns. They're pseudo-hanging pawns. They're half-hanging. They're half-hanging pawns. Strong and weak. I don't know, you know, Chessy bro. It was never really recorded on a stone tablet, handed down by Moses or something. It's unclear, you know. Technically, hanging pawns are hanging because they're pressured by something, but if there's no heavy pieces to pressure them frontally, I feel like they're not really hanging, you know? Hanging chads. So let's say black plays bishop f5. Then what do? We have to play d4. Hanging pawns get a little looser. Start seeing blockading strategy like knight a5. Nice square you've got there. Protecting b7. So what's going on here? You know, is white better? Or maybe h6, knight f3, knight a5. I'm not convinced, you know. Computer says it's better by 0.1 for white. But how does your How does your bishop? How does the bishop move? What? How does it twerk? How does this bishop twerk? So I think that you get in a lot of danger in these types of positions with the ghost bishop. Not easy to handle. So that's why I'm still not voting for a3. I'll take my chances with bishop d2. Safest move is bishop d2. 100%. Then black plays h6. And then, you know, you can play a3 if you want to. And you're taking with the fucking bishop. And you have, like, no chances of losing whatsoever. This is the ironclad safest way to play it. But after this, there was one player who played rook e8. Okay, you can go back there if you want to. Helen Sherwood. Very well-known correspondence player. The guy's... Helen Sherwood. Maybe that's Gina's secret name. Alright, castle, castle. a3, takes here. Bishop f5. Not best, because we're not going to get an e4 now. So... Oh, no. No, I mean, you have to play e4. I don't know about Thomas playing e4, though. I'm really, like, on the fence about that. Yeah, white has a big island. It's like the Benko. The Benko dragon structure. It's a Benko dragon. But we want to stop it. We can control the e4 square without occupying it. You know? So Mr. Thomas Rengson has to think about this. It's too late for bishop g5, probably. e4 is still on the table. But you can play this, confining our bishop on c1. You can still play knight g5, but it's not very effective, obviously. So he played e4. And maybe a good move. It's a tempo. But now the structure changes dramatically, so... This is a backwards pawn. I know what that's called. That is a backwards pawn. Now black plays bishop g4, provoking white to gain a free tempo with h3. I dare you to gain a tempo. And now Thomas does. He's like, thank you very much. Useful move. And then black should consider probably bishop h5, bishop d7, bishop c8, all of the above. Or taking. You know, sometimes, if you don't know who the worst player at the table is, it's probably you, right? Same thing here. If you don't know what to do, which is the best retreat, maybe you shouldn't retreat at all. Maybe the best is just taking. If you don't have a good retreat square, then just, you know, take. 2 knights versus 2 bishops. It may not be that bad for black. Kind of a defensive schlag, though, I would think. Because there's no appealing square. I mean, maybe this looks ugly. e6 gets hit by knight g5. This gets hit by g4, etc. g4, bishop g6. This is playable for black. Look, Mom, no discoveries. You can even go here. So he walks right into knight g5. Big mistake. And it's not just knight g5, but you have f4. And so the giant sponge of pawns is like coming forward. The f4 is the real threat here, in my opinion. Gigantic pawn. Gigantopawn. Hello, Gigantobear. It's Sugar Bear. Do you remember Sugar Bear? You aren't here yet, Chessebra, but Asterbay confused Sugar Bear from... He confused Sugar Bear with the Huggy Bear from Starsky and Hutch. You don't remember Sugar Pops? Like the iconic bear? That's like the... on all the commercials. Wasn't Sugar Pops Sugar Bear? There was a frog, too. I feel like there was a Sugar Bear. I'm not making this up. Alright. Knight g5. Still not too late to go back. But if f4, you have to play h6. It's a shit show. Black's losing control of the center. And the center, the whole pawn structure is going to just avalanche on black here. This is a juicy English. Does Sugar Pop have a frog and a bear? Did anybody watch the South Park episode? I think it was this season, the last season, where all the cartoon characters were like, they turned into like the police for investigating them for sex crimes because the AI started like making videos of cartoon characters like molesting kids. That made me think of the kids at South Park Elementary. That made me think of cereal cartoons like Sugar Bear and Sugar Frog. Too young to remember Starsky and Hutch? Are you kidding me? Asturbate's older than me. What do you mean? He's older than me. You think everybody's a kid. Knight g5, queen d7. Knight takes e6. Now f takes e6 needs to be seriously considered. In fact, it's probably the best move. How you like that structure? How you like me now? Thought he was like 35. Yeah, see? He's so childish. Try again. He could be playing in the World Senior with me. He looks like Santa Claus. So if you take with a pawn, then you have one more pawn you can use to eliminate white pawns. You could go like twice with your pawns. This looks like it's better. After queen takes c6 now, we're rolling him with f4. And now you're going to have no pawns. Black will have no pawns in the center. Look at that. When I was young, I liked to play the English, and I had a lot of nice games with these sort of pawn rollers. Still, it doesn't win itself. Black has some counterplay here. The commercial was nostalgic. But what about the frog? Isn't there a frog with Sugar Pops too? Maybe that was a different commercial. E takes f4. Bishop takes f4. So the really juicy move is pawn takes, going for the giant, amoeba. That's like all out, going for that beautiful control of the center with the pawns. Thomas played the safer bishop takes f4. Not as I don't know how to call it, not as dynamic as pawn takes. The commercial showed a crocodile and a bear. It looks like a ripoff of Yogi Bear, probably. Yeah, the bear. So that's Sugar Bear. Bishop takes f4. Definitely a frog. Maybe it's a crocodile. h6. He hangs the c7 pawn. How does that work? Maybe Black didn't notice this pawn was hanging. Just a minor detail. Didn't use it anyway. Black's pawn, if it was on c5, he would have a kind of almost okay position, by the way. Imagine if Black pawn was on c5. It would be a Marazzi structure. You have a much better control of the center. Maybe even be okay. What's he supposed to play now? The center is overwhelming. Wow. Tomas, you didn't want the pawn. I'm so materialistic. His move is good too. There's an argument here that both moves are good. I know this seems a little materialistic, but for me it's like this is money in the bank, and I'm not a very materialistic player. Oh shit, the frog. Oh my god, you're thinking, yeah, Sugar Smacks. Oh shit. There's Sugar Pops and Sugar Smacks, and they're different things. That's the frog, of course. Sugar Smacks and Sugar Pops. Oh my god, they're different cereals. They're like competing cereals. You can play bishop takes c7. But I like this. Okay. I'm not going to criticize this. Knight takes c4, d5. That's it. Game over. It works. Not going to criticize Tomas for not taking this pawn. Though it's still very yummy. Speaking of breakfast cereals. It's particularly yummy when it's hitting a knight on a5. But he's not into taking pawns, apparently. Though this move makes me nervous. Tomas, I'm a little bit scared that black's going to get a legit blockade here. If you don't pull the trigger soon, you're very seriously running the risk of a real blockade. I have the feeling Tomas is going to go ultraviolent on this guy's ass. You remember something better from the 70s than me? The 700s, I believe you. Do you remember watching a 700 Club? Alright. Thomas, are you going to sack a piece or something? You did this. He's super violent. You know, I don't know, man. This is really extreme. He's going to give up his light square bishop and sack on the king's side. Super violent. Yeah, I mean, my first instinct is that you're taking chances by allowing a strong blockade here. Do we get some donation? Crazy Genie has followed. Alright, guys, don't hesitate to donate. That's not really donations you see up there on the board. Most of the money in the World Senior Teams Fund is actually someone who their name shall remain, anonymous. Someone, one of my many students, donated their payment for lessons. So I'm going to have to fix the donation bar. Really, our donation bar is at 86.78, but it says 686.78 because someone wanted to make it look like they donated. All right, easier than using the dark web though. All right, knight a5, e5, knight d5, and now we fall out of the chair. Nasty, boring religious thing, a religious thing. The beginning of the end of Christianity. Television ministry, right? Jimmy Swaggart and shit like that. That's the beginning of the end, man. The end times. Bishop takes d5. Evangelical Christianity. Fake Christians. Bishop takes d5, queen takes d5. We just gave up our best piece. And black has a firm blockade now. And if the pawn wasn't on h6, black would be better here, probably. So Thomas, he basically cashes in everything for this devastating bishop sack on h6. Brute force, and probably good. Yeah, well, it's extreme, but it's all hands on deck now. I had this game with Boris Pasinski, who was a good player years ago, where he sacked his bishop on h6 in a Caro-Kann, and maybe the only Caro-Kann I ever won with black against a good player. I was able to save the game by just not recapturing, and somehow, that was standard for me. Another game I saved from a bad position. But if black doesn't take, maybe he can survive. Yeah, exactly. So you gave up everything, positionally speaking, for this knockout. But I think it's a lot. You gave up maybe too much. So the computer says f5 was best. So the evaluation is that maybe this is black's only good move. That still looks really bad, though. But what's the point with f5? If I take en passant, you can take my bishop, probably. Because this doesn't work. That's the idea with f5. If black plays f5, you're going to have to move your bishop. And black can try to save the game. So I think that Tomas needs to seriously consider being more patient. Now, grabbing this pawn, definite option. But I think grabbing the pawn immediately is my preference. Okay, black has like rook c8. You go back, and then black can play something along these lines anyway, and put pressure on the hanging pawns. Those are funny. It's 3 hanging pawns. Is that possible to have 3 hanging pawns? Are they still hanging pawns if there's 3 of them? This question has never been answered on a chess stream. Can you have 3 hanging pawns? In a technical sense, no. But why not? You know? I guess by definition you can. The point is they don't have neighbors, right? They're just adrift by themselves. So technically you can. They're not hanging pawns anymore. All right. So Thomas, he cashed in all of his positional chips for this one move tactical shot. Bishop takes h6. It works. Black has to play f5. But even if you don't play f5, I still don't take this. It looks too strong. It's pretty easy to calculate this. This is overwhelming. You know, so even something like maybe queen e4, let's say, just hovering around might be a viable defense because of this. I would sooner probably play anything, but I think takes is out. You're out now. Check. And then king h8 loses immediately to rook f6. So he has to play king h7. And this is the question. Are we definitely winning by force? Rook f6 with the idea of rook g8. Queen f5 check. Rook takes triple. There's still some rook g8 problems. Let's say rook f7, rook g8. He had to calculate this before he sacrifices the bishop. By the way, queen f5 check, and now rook g7. Not rook g7, rook g6. Excuse me. Rook g6 doesn't work because the rook takes f7. Well, I thought then he has to play king g7. What else can he play? Oh, king h8. He can play king h8 because of this threat, this counterplay. So king h8 only move. And now you have to be careful. Rook takes h6 check. King g7. What? Check. King f8. I would assume something along the lines of like king h2. You can double. What's happening here? It's not winning. Wow. Not necessarily winning. Rook e8, rook f1, rook e7, or rook g7. It's not that simple. Let's see. Queen f5 check, king h8, queen f4. So after king h8, if he finds king h8, very hard move to find. Queen f4 is best. This is very complicated. Rook here, rook takes h6, king here, queen h4 threatening mate in 1, king f8, and now you have the defense rook g8 if rook h8 check. So who knows what would have happened. And I don't know how far Thomas could calculate this or just play on intuition. But luckily black didn't find king h8. And I admit it's a hard move to find, but king g7 is much more natural. Now this, and then black's forced to play rook f8. Looks like you might even have rook takes h6. Just a curiosity. If rook f8, do we have this? Curiosity killed the cat. No. Well, maybe, but no, I don't think so. No need for that. We just, you know, smash him. That looks like a problem. So black played king f8, and we chop, and king e8 is forced. And now check. And if he takes, he loses everything. Takes here, yep, check. King c6 forced. Rook f6 check, and now that's a beautiful move. Queen b4 mate. So, beautiful finish. Queen b4 is mate. This is also going to lead to serious difficulties for black. If king back to c8, well, we win all of his pieces. It's not mate, but it's a lot of pieces. Here, 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 here. Minimum. And that's what would probably happen. All right. Good attacking game by Tomas, but I think it raises more questions than it does answers. Starting with this position where you know, well, actually starting with f4. You have a good game. I'm not sure which way to recapture here. You know, I think that taking with the pawn is also interesting. You go whole hog, or do you go half hog with bishop takes f4? Boss hog. All right, next. Must is back on board. Crazy Genie, we said before. Thank you guys for following. We've got a game from Move 11, and we've got a game from T-Pubot. Let's do T-Pubot, because that's a real personal game. Oh, Art Director, we did. Okay. So T-Pubot, we'll save the Grandmaster game for last. T-Pubot is playing WFM. Oriana Tigana. You're black, Caro-Kann. Yeah, I did win a Caro-Kann now that I think about it once. I'm lost position. D4. I've won at least 2 games with the Caro-Kann. I swore it off, though, as I said earlier. So this is going to be a main line. Not a main line, though. E5 is best, but not. The problem with E5 is that, though it is the best move, it's probably objectively the best move. It's not for everyone. It's hard to play. It requires patience, closed positions, a really good understanding of strategy. It's subtle. So that's why most people don't play E5, even though it might objectively be best. Knight C3. Okay, no, it is a main line. Okay, takes, knight F6. Yeah. And so a lot of people have been playing, you know, these second-rate type of variations like knight G3. If knight G3, H5 is good, G6 is good. I'm at the point where I'm even playing like knight C3, I mean gambits with bishop D3. But ultimately white has to take. And yeah, it's not fun, really. So hard for white to play dynamically, but castling queenside is possible in certain variations, and that's, you know, the most interesting. So the main line is C3. This is not, we're not here to discuss theory necessarily, but this variation is very trendy. All right, and that's a good thing and a bad thing, because the problem is you may see a lot of chessable courses or whatever, but also a lot of people are looking at it as well. It's like playing the London system. So the problem with playing trendy things is that everyone knows them. You know, at some point you're rooting for the Yankees. You know, it's like everyone is a Yankees fan, and I hate the Yankees, but it's like jumping on the bandwagon. It's a question, and also investing, right? Waiting till the market is already like saturated and you start investing and the price goes down. To be fair, though, this is a pretty solid opening, and it's never going to be like totally out of fashion. It's never going to be unsound. But I do think that you will find, if you play this opening, you know, every 11-year-old kid is going to know it like cold for white. You know, they're going to know it cold. I mean, it's like everyone plays this variation. It's ridiculously, it's like viral. It's a viral chess opening in the same way that the London system was. Every 11 and 12-year-old in the world knows how to play both sides of this variation. The 50-year-olds may not, you know, but anyone under the age of like 30 is going to be like pretty booked up. That's the downside. All right, so the upside is that it's probably best line. It's very possible that it's even better than bishop f5. Although, to be fair, Bishop f5 is good too. This is all the trend. So takes is very forcing. And now this is a move, knight f3. And I'm, not really knowledgeable about these lines. I think I had a game once with black, but I've never really studied it. So bishop d6, and now white plays what? I'm not even sure. Bishop e3. That's what your opponent played. So bishop d3 is more common. But just a question now. If white plays bishop d3, can you play bishop g4? I don't fully understand. Look at the score here. On bishop d3, the number one move, black has a winning score in the Masters Opening Explorer. Against bishop e2, black has a winning score. Against bishop e3, black has a winning score. So how is that possible? You play for pawn cube, right? Yeah, that's cute. But I guess my bigger question is, like, what happens on bishop f5, bishop g4, queen e2 check. See, very few people play it right away. But why? My bigger question is, why? Why is this such an infrequent move order for black? What's wrong with bishop g4? And I can only think of queen e2 check. But you don't mind trading queens. Okay, white isn't obligated to trade queens. Maybe that's the problem. Queen e2 check, queen e7, bishop e3. I mean, I've seen games like this. Zero games here, though if we go to Elite Chess, there'll be like 1 million. Castles is normal, or knight d7. Let's say knight d7. Queenside castles. You could castle either way. This position reminds me of, that's a plan too, your knight d7, knight b6 and stuff. But what's really shocking to me, honestly, really seriously, is that there are only 5 examples of black playing bishop g4 in this position. And half of these, if not more, are probably correspondence games, if not all of them. That's disturbing, and I don't know why, I guess the answer is that this is a real game. Kakuk Shandor versus some other guy. Kakuk Shandor is an actual person. So at least one of these games is an actual game. But okay, so the point is the other move is fine, but it's also committal. This way you could still castle either way. It's kind of interesting. So worthy of consideration. Anyway, opponent didn't play that. They played bishop e3. Not a lot of games with this move, though. It preserves bishop e2 in case you decide to play bishop g4. So no one has played bishop g4 here, interestingly. There's also, some weird ideas, like, what would happen if you play queen a5 check? I mean, is that stupid? You might force white to play c3 for free. Yeah, I guess it's stupid. But they're probably not going to castle queenside after that. This is a move. We saw this recently in one of the games on the stream. Bishop takes a6, queen a5. You probably know that idea. That's another way to get your knight to d5. You're talking about knight d5. There's nothing wrong with knight a6, by the way. You can play knight a6, knight c7. I think this move is okay. Outside the box. But, there's a similarity between this. Actually, I'm realizing it now, how much similarity there is with these EF Caro-Kanns and the Petrov. It actually feels like black is playing a Petrov. The only difference is our pawn, we have like this double pawns here, which wouldn't happen in the Petrov. But black's strategy is very similar. Okay, castles, standard stuff, and then queen e2. So Petrov-Nimzovich variation. White is playing like a Petrov-Nimzovich variation, but these 4 pawns protect your king side really well. So it's very hard for white to attack you. If they can even get in g4, even if they get in g4, g5, you're just trading it off. There's like no pawn storm for white. So you played rook e8. But I have to ask a question, like, I'm not that into rook e8. What does rook e8 do? I wonder if rook e8 is that good. White's thinking about castling queenside, so should you get your business on over there? Or do you want to like let them castle queenside and then start playing on the queenside? You don't want to scare them away before they castle queenside. But you see the main move here is bishop e6. The problem is you might scare them out of castling queenside. Yeah, you shouldn't play rook e8 without thinking. Because you have a lot of options here. I mean, obviously b5. Knight a6 maybe now. I'm skeptical of this, you know. We had a game, Sun Prism went over last week, where he did this with black. He allowed the structure in a tournament game. And that it's actually playable, because your light square bishop is so strong, like unopposed. You might even be able to allow this stupid structure. But it's a far cry from queen a5 check, queen takes a6. In any case, it's not necessary. I mean, you could just play like knight d7 too. Lucas Van Forest, 2017. But I don't know. Yeah, it's a good question. Rook e8 feels a little automatic. You don't know what White's going to do, though. Is White going to castle queenside or not? I mean, you definitely want to play a move here that is useful in any situation. Rook e8. It weakens f7. I'm not so worried about that. It's a standard move. Absolutely. I mean, also there's something to think about, though. What if White doesn't intend on playing like a maniac, right? What if White is just pretending to castle queenside, and then when you're not expecting it, they're going to play like bishop f4 and trade your bishop off? The rook e8 could pay dividends there. You play rook e8, White plays like, I don't know, bishop d3. You play something like knight d7, they castle kingside. And if they try to play bishop f4, I don't know what you do now, actually. But I'm afraid if we play knight f8, they play bishop f4. There's a game here. Arshak Petrosian against Astana. And Astana lost. That's awkward. Stupid question, but I mean, is bishop e7 a move? Yeah. Honestly, bishop f8 isn't good either. I think we just have to allow the exchange of bishop. We can't go out of our way. The bishop's too strong in f4. We can't get our way to do that. That's just too much. All right. So opponent plays here, castle queenside. Alan Tate. No relation to Andrew Tate. Just want to clarify that. That I know of. It's a Scottish guy. So, castle queenside. Knight d7. Though you have options now. This is for reals. This is for reals. But if you do this, you have to watch out. Right? We need to know this. We need to know this. This is very dangerous because b5 could be soft. Do I analyze any kind of games? But you have to be a subscriber. I'll analyze Monopoly games, but you have to be a subscriber. Alan Tate here playing knight a6. Wow. Dude hit him with d5 and won. Oh my god. Fuck. I'll kill myself if I lose to 2200 playing the back side of the Caro-Kann. I just invented that. The back side. Black side. This is why you're right about this knight d7, knight b6, knight d5 business. Because then you control these squares and there's none of this lies and media, far right media with d5. But I think you were better off to play bishop e6. I think this is a very, very important idea. First of all, you know, you're almost preventing them from castling queenside. That might be a downside. What about knight d7? Now they castle queenside. Now you play knight b6. Is this a problem? I'm afraid it is. That's very unfortunate. We can't do that. Someone played a6, setting up b5. This is obviously setting up b5. Oh no. No, no. We're not entertained. We're not entertained. No, Bughouse is another channel. So Castles Queenside, that's a different channel. That's not serious. This is for serious chess only. That's not chess. So Bishop e6. That's consideration. Knight d7 to consideration. Bishop d3 or Castles Queenside. What do we do? Rook e8 now. Okay. Here's a game. King b1. I don't mind what you did, you know, but clearly Bishop e6 is a good move. So maybe you should play it now. What if you play it now? They're gonna go, like what? c4? Really? You think? You didn't say queen a5. Yeah, no one's playing queen a5 here, clearly. I hope. So, yeah, but if they play c4, it's so risky, you know? They do that sometimes. They don't even have their bishop on d3 yet. God knows what's happening here, you know? This looks extremely dangerous. I'm not afraid. Yeah, I don't know. It's not good for both colors, Chess Zebra. But I don't like Alan Tate's move. That's terrible. Bishop e6 looks fine. So you played what? Knight d7. Okay. And now h4. And what's White's plan with h4? g4, g5. You played rook b8. Wow. Again, h4 looks like White's playing the... It looks like White's playing the Petrov. Rook b8, super slow. So b5 is probably risky again. We get Alan Tate. Though I've seen this pawn sacrificed. You know, what they usually do in these lines is stuff like knight f8, right? But it's kind of passive. It slows down g4, though. I mean, it's not a pawn storm with one pawn. You know what I mean? It's a pawn cloud. A pawn shower. Knight f8, bishop d3. But still, you know, now you can start whatever. I don't know, a5 or something. See this thing's still hanging around, though. I'm not sure exactly how we do this on the queen side. b5, d5 is always an issue. All right, so let's see what she did. Rook b8, it's interesting. It's a new idea. Supporting b5, clearly. And now h5, the one pawn storm. b5, and then g4. Yeah, it's unfortunate. You need to play b5 to play knight b6. So she gets in g4. I'd rather she didn't get this in. Now it is like kind of a real pawn storm. But you do have 4 pawns. I mean, this is nothing compared to some of the scary shit I've seen in Sicilian. Knight b6, g5. It's good to have 4 pawns. A 4-pawn king side. So, yeah. All right. Don't panic. Bishop g4. This is not a panacea. But you know what? You have f5, actually. So you can keep the position semi-closed. It's true, though. Like, if you play f5, let's say, just for argument's sake, bishop b2. If you play f5, white has g6. This does look a little scary. Though, I don't know. This knight c4 is coming pretty fast. I don't feel there's any way you should lose here so quickly. You played knight c4. Panicking at the disco. It's a little impatient, but maybe it's fine. What about other moves? I don't know. It feels okay, actually. It looks okay. Where does she put her queen? Queen d3. That's not an immediate threat. Your knight's extremely strong. I was kind of expecting you to do like queen a5 now with the subtle threat. So if queen a5, king b1, or what? I don't really see what white's threatening. g6? How serious is that? Afraid of bishop h6. Bishop takes h6. What h6? In a move or two. Well, there should be nothing on h6. I assure you of that. Nothing of yours should be on h6. So, you played f5. Well, the question is, takes on f6, you mean? Well, I guess you do have to be concerned about takes on f6. Some combination of takes on f6. Okay. Here. Here. No one's home on f7. Now you're talking about, oh yeah, like standard Sicilian thing. Okay. So this is one place where like we kind of wish our rook was still on f8. But you can sack on I mean, you can capture on e3. The point is, if you capture on e3, white doesn't have a sack on h6. You know, like knight e3, fe3. Fg, hg. So what I'm saying is this, basically. Takes, yes, not optimal. Takes, or some order of this. So this kind of thing, like you could do, where the bishop no longer can sack on h6. It still might be bad because of queen check, you know, and then you get some nasty, nasty stuff. There is a sack. You know, this is very bad. Very bad. You're a very bad reporter. You're a very bad person. Do you ever smile? This is suboptimal. Let's give up the rook, though. Okay, if we're going to do this, we do it the right way. Right? Yeah. Keep going. What? What do you mean keep going? There's nothing here? I thought we're lost now. What's to keep going? Till I play h6? Oh. h5. Let me guess. You can always play h5. I mean, h5 is possible, theoretically, you know. Sometimes, maybe. But I don't like this position already. You know, something went wrong here. I don't think you should have allowed g4 so easily, you know, first of all. You made it very easy for her to play g4. I mean, why should it be so easy for white to play g4? Another question. Why didn't she play it right away? Like, why play h5 first? Can someone answer me this question? Why does she play h5 first? Why not g4 first? I don't understand. You know, g4 is the hard move to get in. She can play h5 anytime. So rook b8 is definitely not good. Why are you giving her g4 for free? This is passive, I admit. So I think the moral of the story, we go back here, where Alan Tate played knight a6. Fuck that, and play bishop e6. So you're still keeping an eye on g4. I mean, what's she going to do? Sack a pawn with g4? I mean, that's a bit much, I think. So it's going to be a very different ball game, in my opinion. I like bishop e6. But even this seems like you're okay. Knight f8 does need to be considered, though it's not optimal. Here, it looked good. It looked good, admittedly. But I think here you're still okay. I still think you're okay here. So maybe you need to be more... I was telling Astrobate, like, he's not bloodthirsty enough. Maybe you need to be more bloodthirsty. But as I said, what's up with queen a5? You're threatening mate in 2. What does white play? King b1, right? But, I mean, I just still don't get it. Okay, king b1 followed by bishop c1. There's crazy shit here. What does she do? You're like, yeah, she's lost. She's lost after queen a5. Holy shit. Yeah. Wow. Just lost. The knight on c4 is too strong. Yeah, so f5 isn't necessary. But I imagine you're still... You're still okay. I mean, hypothetically, what if you play like rook e7? Okay, she has bishop g5. Even there, f6, I'm not convinced. But rook b7, let's use that rook. It's not doing anything anyway. Right. Rook b7. No, it's like you're okay. I still think you're okay. You only lost when you did this. F takes g. Still you're okay. Holy shit. It's even okay after that. Wow. What's wrong with rook b7 here? It's the third best move. It's okay to play rook b7. But the rule number one of this flat king side is that you never ever touch the pawns. You know, if she takes an h7, you play king h8. This is like a surrender. Luckily, you're still winning. I don't believe it. Wow, so this is actually okay for you. You took on g6. Or queen's on the wrong square, right. Her queen's on the wrong square. So how do you lose this? You took on... This looks like a little scary, but the sack isn't enough. It's not enough. So taking is a mistake? Yeah. This also looks dangerous, by the way. But there you have a tactic. Maybe here. You could sack your queen. Queen g5. Queen g5, knight g5. Holy shit. Bishop check. King b1. Anybody? This is probably not a good idea. It looks good. But if you play this, you get mated, right? Slight problem. It's not mate. It's not mate. Shit, it's not mate. You have bishop h5. Oh my god. What's happening there? What if you sack your queen after bishop g5? Queen takes g5, knight takes g5. Check. King b1. Bishop takes e2. You're better. Oh my god. Queen h3. Here I just assume bishop h5. That's not good enough. You have to take her knight. I didn't even see it. You're better. Yeah, you need to be more bloodthirsty. You figured, okay, your king is safe on f7. Caro-Kann player playing solid. It probably is, actually. Safe enough. This was probably not that bad. What'd you do? Lose on time again? Never trade your darks for bishop for their bad bishop. You give them access to g5? The good thing about the bishop on g5 is that the knight can't go to g5. But, I mean, I don't know what to do. You don't have any of these fancy sacks or anything. What about... No, I don't... This concerns me. I don't know how to play this. This isn't that easy. Yeah. I can see losing. You tried to trade pieces. Still, it's probably okay. And then g5. Oh my god. It's attack. Now you got tactical with g5. White wins on time. Were you winning? In the final position? g5 isn't really necessarily. Isn't necessarily necessary. You have everything. I mean, what? Like queen f7? Anything but b4. You can't play b4. You also watch out for queen sacrifices. Oh my god. Does she have that? Bro. Oh. I just saw it. White has this. I just saw it. No. I saw it. Bro. Queen takes c4. Check. No. Poor you. B takes c4. Bishop takes c4. Check. Queen f7 only move. Oh no. Bishop f7. King f7. Bishop takes f4. That's not good enough. Holy crap. Is black winning? That's insane. Oh my god. You're winning after queen f7? You're not winning? Queen f7, bishop f7, king f7. They sacked the exchange. Oh, your rook's hanging. Oh no. Your rook's hanging on b8. Why did you have to play rook b8? Ah. Not bishop f7, try rook h8. Ah. I didn't think it works. We always had that bishop blocker on the H file. Rook h8. Yeah. Takes. Yeah, nice try. It's not happening. There's this stupid bishop h5. You know? Well, anyway, it doesn't work. You can't do everything. Chess Zebra Hero. No, this is funny. This is like a draw. It's a draw. That's probably a draw. A really messed up draw. Queen takes c4 check. She played this. g5. And now you're better. Bishop g5, bishop g5. Knight takes g5. White wins on time. Because bishop takes e2, rook h8 check. Or what? Bishop takes e2, rook queen h3. Cave woman. Knight takes g5, bishop e2, queen h3 didn't happen. You lost on time here. But the situation is not that clear. I mean, you have rook takes e2, right? Who knows what's going on? I think black's okay. You're actually winning. Yeah, you're winning after rook takes e2. But white has f3, and your rook's hanging. You can play rook e3. So bishop takes e2 is a blunder, and then white has this. Is it over? It's looking bad. It's looking bad. King f8. Queen check. King here. Queen takes check. King d6 or king d8. Oh my god. Knight e6 check. That's most unfortunate. Only this move wins. Rook takes e6, check, rook e8, and then you finally lose the queen here. And that sucks. Yeah, but anyway, okay. A reasonable game. Final game for today. Nepomniachtchi versus Dubov. Move 11, where's your games? Move 11 submits. He's like Winson, what? Winson Thom? Who's that? Winsong. Sorry, Nepomniachtchi Dubov. Trongson. So what in the world is this? Move 11 submitting a King's Indian between Nepomniachtchi and Dubov. Alright, I'm definitely taking the other side. I don't care if I lost. I don't want to be Nepomniachtchi. I'd rather be Dubov. He's less evil. Alright. So we're playing the King's Indian. And white plays bishop e2, Averbach or King's Indian classical. Sokoloff showed this game in camp as a recommendation for black. Yeah, it's so easy to play the King's Indian. Sokoloff. What is he, living in the 90s? Alright, castle, bishop e3. So this is not really an Averbach, and it's not really a classical. Well, it is a classical, but it's some kind of pseudo Averbach. I played A5. I played E5, D5, C6 here in a game a billion years ago against a retired English women's player. At that time, back in the 90s, like, this wasn't really well known. Oddball players. I would think Dubov would be more of an inspiration for oddball players, but so Dubov is much. I like him. He's very creative. So again, I don't like this. I think it is too automatic. And I realized, like, as soon as I did it, that I wasn't sure what the hell I should do with black. It went like, my game was c6, g4. C takes d5. C takes d5, queen a5. My game is not in there. It was before, you know, they were using, this was played around 1993, 1993, 94. So it had already been played in a Neil MacDonald game and another game. Wow. That's crazy. Both in the UK, oddly enough. Both Matthew Sadler games. Now that's scary. Now I have a crazy question. What if my opponent all those years ago, was like working with Matthew Sadler? Seems like kind of a strange coincidence. For a young English player to play this system with white in 1993 in a Hastings where I think Matthew Sadler might have even played himself. Strange coincidence. Too strange. Practically impossible. That's wild. She must have been working with Sadler. Interesting. All those years ago. So it was totally a Sadler influence. I think this was the year, like, it was 1993, and Ilya Gurevich played in Hastings, and Sadler, I believe, played in the same tournament. I had never met him before. So knight c6. Interesting. So this is a modern take on the position. The idea is that if white plays d5, you're willing to allow white to grab all the space, you know, these crazy f4 type of things. So this is Nepomniachtchi Dubov. I mean, it's also possible to play knight b8, you know. I'm not really sure, objectively, if it's that much worse. Move 11. This is a pretty obvious game. You can't see because it's obscured by the... You guys can't see it. Maybe I should move the screen capture. You can just about see it, but if I move the screen capture a tiny bit... overlay. So, I don't know that this is really worse than playing 95, objectively. I played a lot of Nimzovich defense type stuff with d6, and typically this is very standard. The idea here is that white's induced to play f4, and clearly black can play knight g4. But this is going to get really weird, you know. If we go knight g4, I mean, things are going to get very strange. Black doesn't play knight e5, so he can go back to d7, I would assume. And you can see here, there's some players who haven't played f4. h3, trying, you know, to do everything. That's an everything burger. Doesn't have the best score. I'll have an everything bagel, please. The all my pawns variation. But there's also people who are like very controlled and they play knight f3. Now this is safe. Notice white's score is better here. White has lost very few games after knight f3, shockingly. Aronyan versus Caruana, this is fairly recent. Maybe Sokolov didn't show you that game. Doesn't want to show you that. Just a sensational f4. And now obviously this. So this is the point, okay? Where is this bishop going? Is it going to d4? Is it going to d2? Is it going back to c1? Because it's going fucking somewhere. The only three moves that have been played. We're not giving you the dark square bishop. What Astrobate knows about the dark squares? Black squares matter. And it's black squares matter versus Moms for Liberty. We're going to take black squares matter every time. I'm glad I took black here because we're playing for the good of humanity. So white decides to play bishop d2. This is interesting though. Setresh, this Romanian kid, has a game here with black. I wouldn't think that the refutation of bishop d4 is necessarily obvious. But what do we do? He played e5. Is that really best? I'm curious about c5. So what's the deal? Takes, threatening c5. So if you play h3, I play c5. This is my idea. Do you think Dubov is thinking the same thing? Or do you think he's going to play like Romanian 2300? e5. Dude lost to a 2100. That's not good. So he plays e5. White takes on e6, and black took with the bishop. And then white played the very strange move c5. I hate losing to people like this. You're trying to create something interesting. But I don't know, man. I still feel like c5 is right. What am I missing here? Takes. There's e5. Is that a problem? You know, even this is insane. Takes, c5. Takes. I don't think that's gonna work. This is not gonna work. All right. So is my variation busted by e5? I'm getting that feeling that it's busted. Just straight up busted by e5. So Setresh is right. Anyway, okay, it's not important to prove this. Let's just check. No, fuck, c5 is the best move. What? My instinct was right. Oh no. But there's some kind of insane reason. Look at this. It looks like Setresh didn't play this probably because he was afraid of what I saw. This doesn't work. But what does work, check this out. Unbelievable. Knight h5. Oh my god. What? No way. Knight h5 sacking a piece. Bishop takes g4. Knight takes f4. Holy shit. This is insane. So anyway, alright. The variation needs to be double checked. It's not important. You know, this is clearly the best move. Bishop d2. Bishop d4, I was just curious about that. And yeah, see, Dubov is dubioso. Now this is the question now. What does black do? h5, black's 0-4. Check that out. There's a game from 1988. There's a Martorelli, but I thought that was an IM. This is a different guy. So h5 is too much. By the way, look at the list here. Daniel Dubov, Naroditsky, Basim Amin, who's a Kings Indian, hardcore Kings Indian player, and this Yukubayev guy, the other Nodir Beck, Gawain Jones. So all these people that are hardcore Kings Indian players. Knight h6. And we keep control of g4, right? Everybody's controlling g4. And now white plays h3, which is weakening. Knight f3 is safer. h3, because we need more pawn moves. Right, I know, Sinus. That's why I'm saying he's playing King's Indian attack all the time with white. One of the only few players who's playing that regular. And now e6. But this is, you can't play a line like this without looking at it with the engine. I mean, this is really bizarre, you know, with a knight on h6. D takes e6. If you take with the bishop, you lose a piece. Wait. Do you have a problem with f5? Or just g4 is too strong? Probably g4 is just crushing. You need that retreat square for the knight on f7. So this is crazy. Oh my god. The assumption is that you have to have back to f7, right? g4. Idea knight f7. There's some crazy stuff. Clearly, like, this has been played and people are eating computers. They're eating the computers. They ate the computer. They swallowed it. Alberto David, all these guys. Okay, this is just ridiculous. It's a very rare variation in the first place. I mean, it's unbelievable to me that there can be all these games here. Do you know how rare this line is? I mean, not a lot of people play it with white. It's a pretty unusual line. It's really mind-boggling. And I also think like c5 is objectively maybe a better way to play. It's just a kind of Averbach. Just play the Benoni. What's the problem? This is go through these hoops and play this crazy shit, man. And again, you can do... Okay, white has f4 in reserve. This is an interesting thing. Like, you could turn into a 4-pawns attack. So if black plays something slow, like c6, I wonder why you can't make it a 4-pawns attack. I don't know. Alright, but anyways, so here we are, playing this super weird Dubov thing. Now we've got bishop takes e6. How is he going to do this? Cantor, Max Lagarde. They copied this line. And now g4. Rook e8. So, okay. And at this point, we're sacking a piece. Now, we're going to sack a piece, right? Bunch of pawns. You bet Petronius analyzed this. Yeah, probably. But it's very impractical for teaching. I mean, Ivan Sokolov is showing this to people in the chess camp. I mean, I don't know, dude. I'm not sure how practical this is. Knight f3, bishop d7, and then g5. This is the question of when we're sacking a piece. So here it is. Knight takes e4, g takes h6, bishop takes h6, knight e4, rook e4. So how much do we have for the piece? We have 1 pawn, 2 pawns. With 2 pawns, we're trying for 3. Pretty good development. Yeah, I mean, this is probably like engine analysis through this point, even now. Is white better? Probably, but he has to be very accurate. Yeah, 0.3 better for white. How many games in the Lichess database? 0. White's still better. But is f5 a good move? Yes. Okay, I'll eat my shirt if queen f8 is engine. It is. Yeah. It's entire. Where was this played? Chess.com? The Air Things Master. I love that. Yeah, I love that. Air Things. Great name for a company. No, just kidding. The stupidest name for a company I ever heard of. Air Things. Okay. AirPods. Yeah, man. This was 2020, the era of everyone's cheating online. I wouldn't trust anybody. Definitely not Hans, though. I'm not inviting him to my tournament. So it's number 1 move. Obviously, if you take on d2 check, it helps white's development. So this makes sense. Queen f8, castles, rook a e8, bishop d3, and now a cute move, rook e3. Can we sack a second exchange? Go full rook. Bishop takes f5. I'm very tempted to go full rook. It's like a dragon. What, 5 pawns for a rook? The standard. Right? If we could get this, get the 5th pawn, well, fuck, it's only 4 pawns. Nah, forget it. It's only 4 pawns. I wanted 5. I was going for 5. This isn't enough. It is close, but it's not enough. We can't sack the rook. So rook e3 is second best move. Apparently bishop e3 check was best. But Dubov starts to look like a human now. He makes an inaccuracy. Rook e3, bishop e3, bishop e3, king g2. I'm just kidding, though. I mean, Dubov has a good reputation. I've never heard anyone accuse him of cheating. But I'm just bringing up that time, you know, from the pandemic era online tournaments, Air Things Masters. We can't take for granted that no one's using engines in these kind of games, because Hans probably was. Remember his games against, like, Aronian? his perfect games. And of course, other people cheating in online tournaments all the time, but the temptation is growing bigger when there's prizes at stake. Bishop c6. But again, it's a practical sack by black. But wonder what move 11 is here, or he just dumped the game and left. Was there a real point to Ivan Sokolov sharing this with his chess camp? I mean, I'm wondering what the theme is really of this game, of submitting this game and using it as teaching material. It's an advanced camp, obviously. We're not talking about for beginners. Practical opening choices. So what's his point? Black's play is not practical? We're not going to find that from Dubov, right? Dubov playing for a win, obviously with crazy, complicated, sacrificial lie. But he ends up losing. He had an initiative, but it looks like he never quite had enough. At that point, he was probably willing to take a draw. Oh my gosh. So now it simplifies. This is wild. So he's actually winning back the exchange. No. Oh, he is down a whole rook. Wait a minute here. When did he become down a whole rook? Yeah, he did that. I never realized he was down a whole rook. Yeah, I guess I just didn't realize. He sacked the whole rook. Well, I mean, here he does it, right? I'm missing something. He's down a piece, then he sacks the exchange, yeah. So computer says what, bishop e3 check? Bishop e3 check was equal. I was trying to sack the rook the different way, the other way, this way. Dubov sacked it this way. Notifications for donos? They're just people paying me for lessons. No, G. Christensen, I heard that. We had 200 bits. That's a cheer. Thank you for the 200 bits. Yeah, so he went a little too far. But he couldn't really put the rook anywhere. There's no squares. Just e7. I mean, having said that, it needs to be considered. E7 needs to be considered. Seriously, what happens if Dubov plays rook e7? It doesn't look good, I admit, I was thinking f6 itself may not be that devastating because of rook e6. But I think there may be some kind of knight g5. It looks awkward. I don't think this is going to work out for us. We're too compressed into a little box here. This is no coordination. But sadly, after bishop e3 check, he was okay. But how does this work? Okay, white doesn't have to take. How are we gonna do this? Are we gonna sack on f5 now? Are we gonna take on f5 now? Why can't white just move his king? Wow, this is wild. Now he can go back to e7. Though I would still wonder what was up knight g5. Let's say rook e7, knight g5, queen h6. Oh, fuck. Wow. So maybe that's what Dubov missed. He didn't like this because of knight g5, right? Yes, knight g5. But maybe he just missed that he could do it after. It still feels passive to go here, like rook e7. But it turns out it's okay. He has enough room now with his queen going to h6. And so he got desperate. But we're not computers. Yeah, I mean, I think the Dubov's play was, typical of him, but he asked too much. And I might have done the same. I was very close to doing like the same rook sack, but with bishop f5. Amazingly here, he's okay. So the best was bishop check, king somewhere, rook e7, if f6, rook e6. And now if knight g5. There's this, I guess. There's some kind of problems with h3, I would assume. So queen h6 here. There seems to be an issue with h3. I don't know if black takes with the rook or with the bishop. Rook take seems too slow. So we have to take with the bishop. Oh, fuck. We have another move. Bishop c6 check. Oh my god. That's sick. So black's apparently winning here. Don't even recapture the knight. Wow, it's totally winning for black. Unbelievable. Yeah. So he came close, but I mean, he's trying to do a very difficult thing. You know, playing this kind of position. One mistake and you're lost. He sacked too much. It's got to be too much now. It's not. Even this is okay. Wow. This is sound. Down a rook. Wow. So somewhere around here he lost the thread. G5 feels wrong. But what are you supposed to play? Does he have queen h6 or queen g7? I thought he had already lost the thread here, but he might still be okay. This g5 feels wrong. So what's the point? If queen h6, queen g3, bishop f4, queen g4, and something like rook here, sorry, rook here, like, for example, maybe white's tied up. No, he's actually better. We have to find a more accurate way for black to play this. So it is queen g7. See, this is how difficult it is. You're down a rook, and I've been there a million times, trying to make tactical lines work. It's all fine until someone loses an eye, but queen g7 was better. It's such a narrow path that Dubov has to find down a rook. The engine analysis isn't going to save you over the board. You know, even if your position is good enough, it's just too fine a line to have to tread this like perfect path. Of course he makes a mistake. G5 is inaccurate. And now you've got no control of these white squares, so the queen just like hides out there. That's the problem. Bishop f4, queen g4, what are you going to do? What are you going to do about this? How are you going to control these squares? How are you going to trap his queen? Not going to happen. So now this queen has to try to get in. Here. Okay. Maybe it's enough still. Queen h8, that doesn't look good, but he's trying to play h5. Nope. Draw. No. Oops. Oh no. So how many pawns we have for the piece? Now these Russian grandmasters, notoriously good in endgames, but Dubov's down a whole piece. We do have the threat of rook h2, but white meets that now with rook f1. These guys who are 2700, they like don't make mistakes too much in tactical positions, unless there's extreme time pressure. Unfortunately, here, he can actually give up. Wow, he even gives that up. I am surprised. I thought we were going to see rook f2. Surprised he didn't play that. Can he give B2? Wow. So he's got him in a mating net. Oh my god. Holy, oh my god, this mate. 96, even worse. Disaster. Trying to do the impossible and play for brilliancies against 2700s. So Sinus said after F6, rook E6. In that line that we looked at. Yeah, F6, rook E6, knight D4 wins the exchange. No, not at all. We always have like E5 square. But I mean, black would also have rook E3 again. There's never anything there. You know, the whole position illustrates the practical difficulties. So check this out. This has been reached a bunch of times. You know, I just want to say, like, Nepomniachtchi also doesn't have to play H3. Safer to play a different move, but okay. Also, don't have to play G4. Can play knight F3. This is fascinating. And the frightening thing is that this has been played... I thought there was an over-the-board game with B5, but it was a different position. Wow. Wait, there is. Rebecca Harris, see? Of course. Naroditsky has a game. Engine best move. Engine best move. Engine best move. This has all been analyzed with the engine. G takes H. Takes knight E4. They both must have known this. Even up to queen F8. Possible that both sides still had seen this far in home analysis or something. Yeah, it looks like there's a better move for Nepomniachtchi though. Rook F2. That's a significant improvement. If there's ever another game in this line, the white player is going to know about Rook F2. And it's going to improve his chances significantly. So this is a mistake. This is a mistake in a practical game. Yeah. But it's after this is so hard to play. You just can't make a mistake. Queen G7 was the blunder. F6. And that's a hard move to play. It looks like it weakens you. You know, you're giving him like C5. Maybe this. You do have threats of Queen F7 and H5. Wait, that's to play H4. Queen E8 threatening H5. H takes G. F takes G. This is insane. Threatening H5. Trapping the queen. Almost. F6. Check out the engine variation. Insane. Bishop D7. Bishop takes H7 check. King F8, obviously. So for someone like Ivan Sokolov, this must be fascinating. That's too deep for almost anybody to do anything with this. This is just absurd. Out of the realm of almost 99.99% of chess players, the realistic application of this. But I guess, you know, the point is, like, how do you want to play? Dubov is playing to provoke. But I think it's an opponent who might be, like, you know, too good to provoke. He's just too good. It's fine in an online blitz game. So check this out, B5. This has been played by our old friend Henry Lee. Yellow Dragoon. B5, interesting idea. Lidora versus Sousa. That's an alternative. Yeah, Dubov's crazy. Anyway, thanks guys. It was fun to see you. We're going to be back, hopefully be back tomorrow if I get some sleep. Thanks for 200 bits from G. Christiansen. And thanks everybody for hanging out with us. We had some interesting games. This is wild. Thanks for sharing, Move 11. Thanks everyone for sharing your games. I'm out of here. Going to get some dinner. And I'll see you tomorrow. And Sunday, our classical simul every Sunday. Of course, every week on Sunday at 7 p.m. Central European Time. Thanks everybody. Have a great weekend. See you tomorrow for some blitz for a couple hours in the afternoon, probably around noon to 1. We'll get started. Bye-bye. Bye, everybody. Bye-bye.